Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Friday, and it is a Red Friday, our first Chiefs Friday of the season. Yeah, it's preseason, but still, there is Chiefs football on your television, on your radio dial tomorrow, the preseason opener for the two-time defending Super Bowl champions tomorrow night in Jacksonville. So a happiest of Red Fridays to those who observe as we get things revved up on 580 Sports Talk, on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on the video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is in studio with me. Trenton Craxter's got the aviators on.
Dude, they're so good. They're so good. Next Friday, when it's Trenton, your last day, I'll wear mine again. I'll wear them indoors.
He looks like a cop.
This is for the disappointment of what we call the Olympics. What are we doing, man? We haven't done anything today except lose.
Hey, that's disrespectful. The women's 4x1.
Okay, that's the only people that get the pass.
Women's basketball, cruise.
But that wasn't. I'm talking medal rounds right now. Like
they've guaranteed themselves a medal.
Yeah, I mean we're close in the weightlifting, 71 kilogram weightlifting. We're in the final, looking good. And then I think we're losing the women's 10,000 meter right now. Shout out Spencer's high school friend.
The medal police over here, Trent Craxter. If you're watching the YouTube, if you're watching the video, Trent's got the aviators on. He does. He looks like law enforcement.
Sir, may I please see your medal count?
I'm going to have to go rearrange some things in my office during the next commercial break, just to be safe. We are here with you until 6 o'clock this evening, and then we will have a little overtime for you up until 6:30 before we hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Game 1 of 2 this weekend for the boys in blue, taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. A 7:10 first pitch tonight, so we'll hand things over the Royals Baseball Network at 6:30 for pregame coverage. Michael Lorenzen's second start as a Royal. Miles Michaelis goes for St. Louis. That's coming up later tonight. We will talk plenty of Royals baseball in addition to getting you set for the first Chiefs preseason game. We usually do our keys to the game and our big Chief picks. If you've been listening to the show long enough, you're familiar with how we typically preview Chiefs games. We're not doing that for a preseason game. What we will do, however, is we will give you each 2 things to watch for, a what to look for, if you will, for the Chiefs preseason opener tomorrow night, and a starter we expect to make an impact in some form or fashion in the time that they get on the field, an impact starter that we expect to see tomorrow night. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff for the Chiefs tomorrow night against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you are in the Topeka area, that game will be televised on WIBW TV. If you are wanting to listen to the game, it will be on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, 94.5 FM, WIBW FM will have the broadcast. We'll have Royals baseball here on 580 and FM 104.9, WIBW AM. So we will preview that preseason opener for the Chiefs. We'll also talk all about it with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider. He joins us at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour, as he does every Friday. We'll talk to Matt about what he's looking forward to seeing in the first dress rehearsal of 3 for the two-time defending Super Bowl champs. And, of course, we'll get a training camp report from Mitch Holthus in the 5 o'clock hour, brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azure Credit Union. Now, Mitch will be 30,000 feet above Shreveport or somewhere thereabouts. Probably not Shreveport.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anywhere close. Well, no, I don't think he'll be near Shreveport.
No, I mean, Jackson, Mississippi, I don't know. He'll be in the air is what we're saying. So what we have from Mitch is a pre-tape segment, but a checklist of things. So you're going to get all kinds of perspective on what to watch for in the Chiefs preseason opener from yours truly and Brendan here, from Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, and from the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, as we get ready for the first of 3 preseason games.
580 cartography talk here, but I would imagine, I'm thinking maybe Huntsville, Memphis, somewhere in between Huntsville and Memphis. That would be my rough guess.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with like flight plans and what have you. I don't know how to get to Jacksonville as the crow flies. I was just kind of ballparking.
No, that's fair. You ever been to Jacksonville?
I have not. My dad used to go there for business like 15, 20 odd years ago. Every now and again, the company he worked for, they had some headquarters in Jacksonville. He would go every couple of months.
I've never like spent time there. I've flown into Jacksonville and then driven south to St. Augustine before. St. Augustine's cool. Oldest city in America. It's a cool place. Jacksonville's kind of a dump.
Yeah, I feel like Jacksonville's one of those towns. You know the John Denver song about Toledo, Ohio?
Yeah.
And he says, "You ask how I know of Toledo, Ohio? Well, I spent a week there one day." And I feel like you could say the same about Jacksonville, Florida. That you could spend a week there in a day.
The funniest thing I know about Jacksonville is the late Jeff Dickerson, who covered the Chicago Bears for a long time. He did a radio hit after the Super Bowl was there in 06, maybe 08, whenever Jacksonville hosted the Super Bowl at the Gator Bowl. And he did an entire radio segment where he just talked about how much it sucked and he hoped they never held an event there ever again.
And hey, what do you know? We're still waiting for the second Jacksonville Super Bowl.
Yeah, it has not gone back. What game was that?
That was Eagles Patriots.
Oh,
yeah, the third of the Patriots championships.
Okay.
The Terrell Owens broken leg, Donovan McNabb puke on the field game.
Imagine breaking your leg and having your quarterback puke and you lose. That's tough.
Not by much. I mean, I remember more about the Eagles in that game than I do about the Patriots.
Isn't it wild that the Patriots won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years by a combined 9 points?
It is wild. That was the only one that didn't come down to a last-second field goal. I think they were up 10 and New England drove. It was a very slow drive.
It was a whole...
McNabb puked on the field. It was a whole thing about, man, that Eagles coach, he doesn't know how to manage the clock. He'll never win a big one.
And I remember it being a big deal that, like, our defense gets to finish this game on the field. Yeah, through the first 5 Super Bowl, what an insane sentence. Through the first 5 Super Bowls of Tom Brady's career, his teams were 3-2 with a point differential of +2. The Patriots were this huge behemoth beast, but they were never like untouchable. Isn't that like, this is probably a discussion for a different day, but it's kind of weird. Like, everything was always close. They very rarely just like massacred people, especially in the Super Bowl.
The one year where they were that kind of team, they lost the Super Bowl. The year they went 18-0 and they pounded everybody, and then they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the biggest win in terms of point differential during the Brady Patriots era was one of the worst Super Bowls of all time, Super Bowl 53.
Yeah, the one that won by 10.
13-3.
Putrid. Absolutely putrid.
Sean McVay is lucky he won another one, man.
That's a fact. We will talk more NFL on this show today, as well as we go to part 2 of our 2-part series, ranking the NFL quarterbacks. If you missed it yesterday, we ranked our bottom 5 quarterbacks in the league, as well as our quarterbacks ranked 15th through 11th. So the quarterbacks who just missed out on the top 10. Today, we're going to present the top 10. We're going to rank them from number 10 all the way to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mahomes.
There's no need for drama.
Yeah, 10 through 2, and then Mahomes. Like, I feel like that's not a major spoiler.
You know what the biggest difference is between the Chiefs and other dynasties like the Patriots? And this kind of dovetails with something we've talked about before. They are so boring. Like, on the field, very exciting. But as an organization right now, so boring. What's the drama? Like, Rashee Rice should not have gotten in trouble with the police and nearly killed people. Like, that's very bad. But in terms of, like, the Patriots were cheating. They were filming practices. They were destroying cell phones. They were always doing something. The Chiefs are just boring. And I mean that in a good way.
Yes, there's a good kind of boring.
I mean, maybe not good for, like, training camp content, but good for the team itself.
Yeah, like, not a lot of, like, on-field, in-locker room drama. Like, they're not uninteresting. Their tight end is dating the most famous woman on the planet. They have the best player at the best position, the biggest deal position in sports, quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, they're not boring, but they are also boring in the sense that there's not a lot of, like, scuttlebutt gossip about them as a football team. They're just going about their business. And I think that's going to probably be helpful to them as they pursue a third straight Super Bowl championship. Lots of other great stuff to come on this Friday edition of the show. A round of On Second Thought. We'll do Change My Mind as well. We'll crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll do an Olympic roundup, sports headlines, all that great stuff. Plus, you are invited and encouraged to interact with the show today. You can do so in one of two ways. If you're watching us live on YouTube, first of all, hi, folks. Thanks for watching us on the YouTube. Again, our channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can jump into the live chat, leave comments, interact with other listeners and the hosts of this show. You can also comment if you're watching on Facebook at WIBW News, or you can text the program. The Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. A reminder necessary that if you are hearing us today, this is 2:16 p.m. on this Friday. If you turn on your radio at 2:06 on Monday expecting to hear us, you are not going to hear us. You are going to hear instead a new program that we're going to bring to our listeners here on 580 WIBW. It's called Agri Talk. It is an ag industry show with guests and commentary that's relevant to our ag audience, which we know here in this great state of Kansas to be a vast audience. And that will be the new program that airs from 2 to 3 weekdays, Monday through Friday, here on 580 WIBW. 580 Sports Talk moves to 3 hours starting on Monday. So join us at 3:06. And we're going to do the same show, same silliness, same commentary, same guest segments, all that stuff. It's the same show, just an hour shorter. 3 to 6 starting Monday. So this is the last 2 o'clock hour. And I won't say ever because, like I said, when I started here, this was a 2-hour show. Then it was 4, then it was 3, then we did 6 hours of sports talk, then we went back to 4, and now we're going back to 3. So I will never say we will never talk to you in the 2 o'clock hour ever again. I'm not going to say that. Things change in this radio business. But for now, this will be our final 2 o'clock hour and our final 4-hour edition of 580 Sports Talk. We will be back on Monday at 3:06.
Paul on YouTube says 100% chance I turn my radio on at 2:06 next Monday. I will also be in this studio at 2:06 on Monday.
Yes, I'm going to absentmindedly wander in here at 2:06.
And then I'll hear Chip Flory, the host of Agri Talk, and I'll think, that's not Dan.
No, that is definitely not me. He is talking about an area of which I have very little expertise.
How do soybeans pertain to the Kansas City Chiefs? I really don't know. And then I will remind myself, oh, yeah, it's Monday the 12th.
Yes.
So, yeah, something to keep in mind, but we're looking forward to it. Should be a fun show on Monday, too.
Yes, we're going to recap a big weekend for the Royals, the first preseason game for the Chiefs. Lots of great stuff coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. But we begin this show today. I say begin. We're 13 minutes into the show. We haven't really gotten into our A topic yet. The A topic is the Chiefs preseason opener, heading down to Jacksonville for their first preseason game, the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Typically, again, we would do keys to the game and a big Chief. We're doing things a little differently right now. You remember the show Chief Seats?
Oh,
it used to be on ESPN Classic with the Sklar brothers.
Yes. I don't want to sidetrack us too much, but real quick, very much in the Mystery Science Theater realm of comedy where you air something funny or crappy and you just like talk over it and make fun of it. I went to the guys who were the last cast of Mystery Science Theater. They have their own business that does the same thing now. They did a live show last night and I went to see it. It was very good. They riffed Point Break. Yeah, very funny.
That sounds
still
like
a great movie, by the way.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, it was awesome.
That's very cool.
Anyway, so yes, I do know Cheap Seats quite well.
So Cheap Seats, beginning of every episode, they always had their little what to look for. And I still remember the song. Here's what to look for. Here's what to look for. Wow. So this is what to look for. 2 key points, what to look for in the Chiefs preseason opener tomorrow night, and a starting player, or a player we think is going to start anyway, who we expect will do something impactful or cool, or we project will do something impactful on Saturday. I'll start with my first thing to look for, and it's the big obvious one. He's very big, in fact. He's so big, he's the left tackle. It's Kingsley Suamataia. How does he look under live fire, and how many snaps does he get? If he only plays with the first team offense, that will be the surest sign that the job has been won, that the position has been decided if he only is out there with the first-team offense. I would be very surprised, though, if that were the case either way. I think they want to get Kingsley Suamataia live fire. They want to get him live in-game reps against an opponent that is trying to beat him and get to the quarterback, trying to beat him on rundowns. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see if that physicality, if that athleticism pops, if he's able to hold his own against different kind of rushes, hold the point of attack, give Mahomes or whoever's at quarterback, Carson Wentz after Mahomes, obviously, some time to throw. Kingsley Suamataia is the most interesting player to watch in this first preseason game. I don't think there's much debate about that.
No, I would agree with you. And I mean, he's the number one here. I am curious about how much run he gets, because I agree that you want to get him live fire, but also, like, we know Andy Reid is not exactly always truthful about how much his starters are going to play. And I do wonder who is going to line up next to him, because that does play a role in this. How much time you are spending next to guys who you are actually trying to build that chemistry and, timing with. And if it's Hunter Norzad next to him for a few snaps, does that help as much as having fewer snaps, but going next to Joe Thuney or whoever they want to line up the starters at the beginning of the year? So I agree with you. That's the interesting thing to me. I also just want to see how he's able to match up, and what are the alignments going to be from Jacksonville? What kind of tests are you going to get for Kingsley Suamataia right off the rip? The Jaguars depth chart to start the year, their first unofficial depth chart. The number one pass rusher they have is Joshua Hines-Allen. He's a really good player. You may know him as Josh Allen. He added a hyphenated name this year. He is their best pass rusher. Travon Walker, do you know what he did last year? Trayvon Walker, former first overall pick.
Nothing.
10 sacks.
Really?
He had double-digit sacks.
Really?
And nobody knows.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody.
He was a cipher as a rookie.
He is what NFL podcast host Nate Tice refers to as empty calories. Like, he got 10 sacks, but were they because he was winning in the pass rush, or was it because they were covering well and he got home? Like, George Karlaftis getting 10 sacks, that's because George Karlaftis is a crazy motor. And I mean, it's maybe the best on the entire defense right there next to Drew Tranquill, just in terms of never turning it off when you're on the field of play. Trayvon Walker, I'm not sure he's that guy. So I'm interested to see who Suamataia is lining up against, because I'll tell you what, Walker is probably a better player than he gets credit for, but still a very forgotten first overall pick. Josh Hines-Allen is a good player.
Yes.
He's a really good pass rusher. That would be a big-time test, even if it's just for a few snaps.
All right, what's your first thing to look for the preseason opener?
I'll stick with the offense here. I'm interested in the wide receiver play and just the rotation. As far as I'm concerned, I see 4 spots locked down already. Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, and Hollywood Brown. I think those guys, no matter what, are locked in. We'll get to Xavier Worthy in a little bit. That's a tease for you. You don't even have to subscribe to my OnlyFans for it. So those 4 are locked.
Thank God.
There are 2, maybe 3 other spots. No more than 3. They're certainly not keeping 8 receivers. I'd be moderately surprised if they did 7. They'll certainly keep 6. Who else is going to fill in there? McCole Hardman, Justin Ross, Nico Remigio. You've got a bunch of dudes who are going to be fighting for that spot. What are they going to do? How well are they going to play? Will the rotation mirror the depth chart? Or are we going to see, okay, in with the second team, oh, well, there's McCole Hardman. He was listed as 4th team on the depth chart, but he's actually in there with the second unit offensively. That's what I'm interested to see. Who is going to step up in that spot? Last year, it was hoping that it would be Justin Ross. A lot of kind of trying to will it into existence. Ross, the guy, remember that freshman year at Clemson?
Yeah.
Like, he has it. This year, I'm going to say Nico Remigio is my guy. I want to see him win that position battle.
Feels like everybody does.
Because I think that's an interesting and fun flavor to add to this wide receiver room. So that's what I'm hoping for, but that's what I'm keeping an eye on with the offense.
Second thing to look for on Saturday night for me is also on the offensive side, and it's the reps at running back. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Isaiah Pacheco.
Hopefully not.
No need for that. And I also don't think we're going to see a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Because, again, I don't think you need to see a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know at this point what he is and what he's going to bring. So beyond that, though, is where it gets interesting. How does Deneric Prince look? Deneric Prince, by all accounts, had the inside track on a roster spot all the way through the start of camp, right up until preseason game number 1. And he did not have a good preseason game number 1, and we never heard his name again.
Nope.
It was like he disappeared. He spent the year on the practice squad. So this is take 2 for Deneric Prince as an NFL player. His second chance at a what's the word I'm looking for? An audition. Mm-hmm. Second chance at an audition for Deneric Prince. How does he look in his first preseason game? Who gets those third and fourth team reps, and how do they handle passing game responsibilities? Do we see any running backs making catches out of the backfield? Who gets the third down reps if they're obvious passing downs and there's a running back in the sidecar with Carson Wentz or Chris Oladokun or Ian Book, as the case may be? Carson Steele, he's the only fullback listed. Where do we see his snaps? Does he get snaps with the first team? Where do his snaps come from, and what do they look like?
Yeah, what do they ask him to do?
Yeah, is he in there in some 2-back sets? Is he there as a pass protector? Does he run some single back stuff? Where do his snaps come from? And Louis Rees-Zammit, does he even get an opportunity? The tape we've seen in camp has been minimal, and you don't want to judge based on grainy Twitter footage necessarily.
No, you do not.
But the grainy Twitter footage has not really been very promising. So is he going to get an opportunity at all, or have the Chiefs already decided he's not really a factor in the battle for a roster spot at running back? So I think behind Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it'll be really interesting to see who gets used, how they get used, and how that roster spot shakes out, because there is a question mark there.
And to that point, Paul on YouTube, in our live chat, again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, go subscribe if you haven't, says he's looking to see what the usage is and kind of what the role and concept usage is for Louis Rees-Zammit. So, man, that is a hard name to say really fast. But, yeah, I'm curious about that, too. My second one to watch for this weekend, I'm going to go to the defensive side here. The reserve defensive ends. What is that group going to look like? Obviously, Karlaftis is edge 1. Mike Dana is edge 2. He might be all season, frankly, but certainly while Charles Omenihu is out, he's going to be edge 2. King Felix has had a little bit of an up and down camp. I'd say we've heard more good than bad, right? Slow start, but I think we've heard more good than bad. That's important for him. I've been a fan of Malik Herring since the Chiefs signed him as an undrafted free agent out of Georgia. We talked to Mitch about that earlier this week, that he tore his ACL, I believe it was, during the Senior Bowl practices. He would have been drafted that year. I'm a big fan of his game, and he's been at the back end of the rotation. There are going to be snaps available during the first half of the regular season for that third or fourth edge guy. Who is going to step up into that role and make the big impact? And I think for a battle like that, when you've seen a lot of Malik Herring, if you're the Chiefs, you've seen a whole year of Felix Anudike-Uzomah, truly an evaluation year. Will one of those guys step up and be able to pull ahead? I think that's the position battle, to me, next to running back, that might be influenced the most by preseason action. So I'm curious to see which of them is able to answer the call here against a Jacksonville team that, to be frank with you, you should be able to generate some pressure against. That offensive line has a lot of names, but it's not good. Like, on the edge, their tackles, Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison. Anton Harrison was not great last year. He was okay, but he was not great as a rookie. Cam Robinson has had some good years. He's kind of mediocre. Their backups are nobodies. I'm curious to see which of those guys can answer the call, because somebody should be able to get home against this offensive line.
We're going to see a lot of Felix snaps. I got a feeling. I think he's going to play a lot, and I'm excited to see if he's able to put to use any of the refinement, any of the new things that he's picked up over the last year and change, working with Tamba Hali in this camp. Excited to see flashes from Felix Anudike-Uzomah. I think this is a big opportunity. Preseason will be a really big opportunity for him to get a lot of snaps. All right, Brendan, your impact starter, somebody that projects as a starter that you believe is going to make an impact in the first preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, he might not technically be a starter. I'm sure week 1, the starting receivers will technically be Rice, Brown, and Watson. I'm going to go with Xavier Worthy, though. His spot is safe. I'm going to consider him a starter for our purposes. I want to see how they deploy him in this game. You don't want to put too much on film for week 1 against the Ravens or week 2 against the Bengals. Sure, I get it. But do you have him just running nines, the go ball, the deep routes? Is that all you have him do? Are you mixing in some outbreakers? Are you mixing in some posts? What are you doing with him? How diverse do you want his route tree to be? I do hope he gets at least a couple of series so he has, 4 or 5 routes that we can go back and chart and take a look at afterward. I would love to see him catch a deep ball. I would love for this to be, was it 17 or 18 when Mahomes threw that 70-yard pass in the preseason to Tyreek Hill?
That was when he was a rookie.
Okay,
that was his true rookie year. Yeah.
And everyone went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa. And Tyreek Hill caught it on the run. It was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a moment like that. Oh boy. That'd be a lot of fun. But I'm just curious to see what his route tree looks like. Thank you, NFL Game Pass, for giving me a chance to do some scouting.
For me, I'm always interested to see guys who are getting to play their first football in a long time after they've been injured and they're coming off of a season-ending injury. Because,
sure.
Number one, you want to make sure that their health is right, that physically they're right, but also you feel like they're going to be like caged animals, like coming off the sideline and ready to do something and fired up more so than the average player might be for a preseason game. And in that vein, I feel like Brian Cook's going to want to make an imprint on this game. He's sort of a forgotten man, I think, in the defensive backfield because he missed half of last season and Mike Edwards was able to fill in so ably for him. Brian Cook was having a super year before he got hurt. And I think he's going to have an excellent 2024, provided all systems are go for him health-wise. And I think he might want to show it. I think he's going to put a stamp on the game. Maybe it's just one big hit or a deflection, something like that. Maybe it's not something that shows up in the stat sheet, but I think you're going to notice Brian Cook for however many snaps he's on the field. I think you'll notice him.
Fair or unfair, the last Chiefs safety who had a major injury was Juan Thornhill. And I know it's different injuries, broken ankle versus torn ACL.
Right.
Juan Thornhill was never the same player.
No, he wasn't.
Which really sucked. I'm glad he's still in the league, but he was never the same player for the Chiefs.
He's a fine player, but there was a limit to the trajectory that he was on his rookie year. It was limited by that injury.
And I think that trajectory was second contract with Kansas City, and they ended up letting him walk after 4 years. So different injuries, obviously, but it would be a good vibes thing to see Brian Cook be able to come out and play how we know he can play this first week.
We will take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. We're not going to predict the score of this game because it's the preseason.
Please don't gamble on it.
Yes, do not. Please, there are phone numbers you can call, the whole thing, if you're considering betting on the preseason. Do you remember the score of the preseason opener last year?
I don't remember who they played.
Didn't they beat the Cardinals like 35-10 or something?
Wrongo. They played the Saints in the preseason opener last year. And they lost at the gun, 26-24.
Oh, that's because Chris Aludicon fumbled when they had the ball.
Yeah, they had the ball. They were just going to run out the clock, and Oladokin threw a pick.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Remember Patrick Mahomes' first game when they were up big, and then Andy Reid pulled him
for Tyler Bray?
And
was it Tyler Bray?
No, might have been Tyler Bray. Yeah, and he immediately gave it up, and they were in danger zone.
They had to bring
Mahomes back
in Denver. Yeah,
I should have told you right away that dude was special.
No question about it. We will not submit a prediction, but we would love to hear from you. What are you most excited to see when the two-time defending champs take the field tomorrow night against Jacksonville? Hit us on the big text line, the Top City Mail Supply text line, 785-272-9429. You can also get to us in the YouTube live comments as well. That's not sponsored, but maybe you could sponsor it if you'd like. Give us a call. We'll put your name on it. We'll take our first break. We'll come back around to Change My Mind is next, as we're just getting rolling from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Friday edition, 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Trenton, Spencer Dupuis will be along later on. So much more to get to on today's show. Lots more Chiefs to discuss. We're going to talk to Matt Derrick at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour, our Chiefs insider, get his thoughts on preseason game number 1. We'll also hear from Mitch Holthus in the 5 o'clock hour, the voice of the Chiefs, for another training camp report. Couple of folks in with some thoughts on what they're looking forward to see in the preseason opener. Mark in the YouTube live comments says, I'm excited to see the special teams and the new rules. Yeah, be first look if you haven't watched any of the preseason yet. And I'm going to be real with y'all. I have not. Be your first look at what the new kickoffs look like. So that will be something certainly that is interesting to watch. Text line, Top Email Supply text line, text from the 785 says he's looking forward to seeing King Felix, Xavier Worthy, the left tackle spot, and the defensive line rotation. So quite a few things there, and I think there is. Like, you're just excited, I think, to see them back on the field. Like, even for 5 plays. That's how many it was last year, by the way. We were talking about it, and I went and I looked. It was 5 plays for the first-team Chiefs offense last year.
Wow.
They blew a 4th and 1 on a direct snap to Blake Bell.
Yes.
Which would be...
Now that rings a bell.
Yes. Oh, yeah, short yardage situation. The Chiefs couldn't get right. Yeah, that set a tone. And then the first-team defense got dog-walked by Derek Carr on a touchdown drive.
That's right.
Yeah. So
yeah, it means nothing, man. It means absolutely nothing.
It means less than nothing.
The all-time,
it's still good to see your guys, right?
Yeah. The all-time number one anecdote about the preseason is that the 2008 Detroit Lions went 4-0 in the preseason.
And then lost all their regular season games.
They went 0-16. So.
Every last one of them. All right. Time for a round to change my mind. We're going to start with Olympic basketball. We were having some fun with it yesterday. Team USA beat Serbia in the semifinal round. I was kind of pulling for Serbia because Nikola Jokic is my favorite athlete, maybe ever, and he plays for Serbia. And a lot of guys that I don't necessarily root for during the NBA season, like Joel Embiid, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, LeBron. Do we win gold in the weightlifting?
Yeah!
All right!
Olivia Reeves! Glory and gold! Tied atop the gold medal count. I have no idea what I was watching. I thought she had lost. She fell to her knees and dropped the bar. I thought she had fallen out of first. I was very confused.
It's Team USA's first gold since Sydney in 2000.
How about that?
The U.S. has now earned a medal on the women's side for 3 consecutive Olympic games. So
love to see it.
Man, the women are going crazy these last couple days.
They got someone in the 81-plus kilogram weight class tomorrow in the finals. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the U.S. has someone else that could medal tomorrow.
More about this in the Olympic Roundup later on in the program. So anyway, there were a subset of Twitter users, including one named Kevin Durant. We'll talk about that later on in the Olympic Roundup. Not real pleased with the idea that Nuggets fans would root for their guy over their country. Mm-hmm. There's also a subset of Boston Celtics fans who are upset that Jason Tatum isn't getting to play. He's their guy, and now they're rooting for the U.S. to lose because Jason Tatum isn't getting to play. Changed my mind. Celtics fans are acting way more unreasonable about this than Nuggets fans are. Like, it's way lamer, for lack of a better term, to be rooting against your country because your guy isn't getting to play than rooting for your guy who plays for a different country.
I probably would agree. Yeah, I mean, it's. I was telling you, I'm rooting for the Team USA no matter what. Like, if they, I'm trying to think of an athlete that I really enjoy that. Okay, like when Kirk Heinrich played for Team USA, if that was today and he wasn't playing, I'm like, damn, I wish Kirk was out there. Oh, well, we just beat Bolivia by 900. That's what means the most to me. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of weird. Here's what this comes down to. This is a different topic. I think we should have, monitoring devices on people whose favorite sport is the NBA. I really think we should have.
There is no sport about which the discourse online is more broken and toxic.
We should have government-mandated grass touching if you admit that the NBA is your favorite sport.
Kids grew up on Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless just pushing narratives about, I hate LeBron, LeBron sucks. No, LeBron's the GOAT. He's better than Jordan.
No, that's actually very true.
There's a whole generation of people that grew up, and I know we're going to talk more about Kevin Durant later, but I read what he wrote, and I personally agree. Like, people just use games like this to push their own narratives and agendas.
Yeah, it's so lame, dude. Like, basketball fans cheering against Noah Lyles. He's like, NBA champions are fake world champions. I actually beat the rest of the world. Like, okay, that's one loud dude's opinion.
Right.
We got people like trying to find his parents' address.
The
like,
USA basketball Twitter account dunked on him.
Like, dude, stop being a loser. Like, just that's my big beef with it. Like, get over yourself.
It is basketball. It's not even fun to talk basketball.
No, it's like, seriously, if I want to talk basketball, I have to come into work and talk to you and everyone here.
Yeah, it's
because
not fun to do it on the internet. You can't do it.
It's hard enough to talk about like football or baseball online. It's impossible to talk about basketball.
It is.
College basketball, it's a different kind of impossible. It's like, wow, my team beat Howard today. That's cool. Meanwhile, like, fans of Duquesne are saying, I'm going to bomb a foreign capital if we do not win this Wednesday night A10 game. Like, truly insane people. The NBA fans, different kind of insane.
You haven't changed my mind?
Yeah, might change my mind. I'm trying to word this carefully here. About preseason football. There is... how do I want to say this? There is, frankly, no reason for the average person to care about preseason football.
Define the average person.
Like, I'm going to watch my team on Sunday. I'm going to watch the Chiefs on Sunday. And if I have other time, I'll watch another game. But I got other stuff to do.
So your average football fan.
Your average.
Not like capital F football fan. Like it's like a portion of my entire personality that I root for my favorite team.
Yeah, not me. Like a normal person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or somebody not in the sports media field.
Right. Just like the average person.
I would say this. If I were not in sports media, I would watch zero preseason football. I would never watch a snap. I am being 100% real with you folks. If I did not have to talk and analyze the Chiefs preseason games, I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch any preseason game. I haven't watched a Seahawks preseason game since Russell Wilson's rookie year.
And I guess my point here is not so much like I'm telling you who's listening to me speak right now, don't watch this game on Saturday because it's dumb and pointless. That's not what I'm trying to get across. This is more a complaint about the NFL. Like, I don't think preseason games should count as your part of your season ticket package. Like, I don't. Or at least you shouldn't. You should not
pay regular season price.
Right, regular season price for a preseason game. They should not charge full parking. Frankly, like, if you can't air it live because something else is going on, like, that's fine. Put it on tape delay. They used to all be on tape delay.
Yeah.
Like, I think
it's there if you want it. I just don't know why, unless you were like the third string right guard's cousin, that you would want to watch the second half of a preseason football game. Like, I'm not knocking anybody who said, hey man, I want to see Patrick Mahomes on the football field again. I want to see that first team offense. I want to see that first team defense. And then I check out. Like, I get that. Mm-hmm. I understand that completely. That line of thinking. But like the folks who are like, I am going to watch every snap of this preseason game. That is something I would never, ever in my life do if it were not my job.
Yeah, I do with Green Bay, and I do with the Chiefs as much as I can. But, like, you can always stomach so much Chris Oladokun, you know? There's always so much that you can
Unless you're Mr. or Mrs. Oladokun.
Right.
In which case, yes.
And I guess that's my point. Like, we should not – the NFL, for the sake of its customers, should not make it seem like these are regular season games, because they're not. In no way are they.
And look, I know what it's like to be like a sicko for a sport, because I'll watch the late innings of early spring training games to see like prospects get an inning, or like, oh, my team's number 15th ranked prospect is in the game. He's going to get in at bat in the 9th inning. Like, I'll check that out. That's how I feel about baseball. So I know there are people that feel like that about football, and I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm that way about one thing.
I get that.
I'm that way about one sport.
Yeah, same.
And football's not that sport.
Yeah.
But rest assured, folks, I'm going to watch every snap Saturday night, and I'm going to do it for you. That is my promise. That is my pledge. I will do it for you. We're going to take a break here at 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, a little bit around the NFL. A former Chief out of a job. Should there be a Juju reunion in KC? We'll discuss it next here on 580 WIBW from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. More gold for Team USA during that timeout.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. Hell yeah. Rai Benjamin. The 400-meter hurdle.
It's
Team
been
USA.
It's been a really good Olympics for USA track and field. Really good. Even with some high-profile disappointments. One big one we'll get to in the Olympic roundup.
Mhm.
There have been a lot more good than bad, both men and women in track and field.
Yeah.
Really, really good Olympics. As disappointing as the swimming team felt this year, track and field's been killing it.
Yeah, it's been great.
So we'll get to that in the Olympic roundup later on in the show.
So in the last 15 minutes, the U.S. just took 2 more golds and is now ahead of China in the gold medal count.
We've surpassed China, and I think we're going to stay surpassing them unless they add like 8 more diving events to the Olympics.
Yeah, last time
really
back
good,
in
they're really good at diving, man.
back in
I'll tell you
Tokyo,
what.
it took them till the last day for the U.S. to seal it, but this was a good start.
Why aren't we better at diving?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't mean to steer into like
Where have you
bordering-
gone, Greg Louganis?
Yeah, I don't want to veer into almost inappropriate stereotypes, but I do think it's a discipline thing. Like they were talking during the men's 4x100 about Team China, and they said this is a real dark horse because they've got the best passes of any relay team.
Because they practice together the most.
And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be nice?
Again, more about that in the Olympic roundup. We're going to do that later on in the show today. Quick NFL note to get to. There's lots of things going on in the National Football League, and we'll touch on many more of them in headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. But one note today, former Chief and now former New England Patriot Juju Smith-Schuster released by the Patriots after their first preseason game. So Juju's time as a member of the Patriots comes to an end after just 1 season and 11 games last year in which he caught 29 passes for 260 yards and 1 touchdown. Of course, Juju, a big part of the 2022 Super Bowl champion Chiefs, got 78 passes for 933 yards and 3 scores in 16 games that season. He's only 27 years old. Doesn't turn 28 till November 22nd. But getting released at this point in training camp, I mean, it's a favor because it does give him a chance to maybe latch on with another team if there's an injury at some point in camp. I don't think that we've seen the last NFL game for Juju Smith-Schuster, but I do think that the version of Juju that we saw in his younger days in Pittsburgh, I don't think that's ever coming back. And I do not think a reunion in Kansas City is a good idea.
Can I give you a hot take? I think we have seen the last of Juju. Dude,
Really?
He was horrible last year. That knee is fried. It was a concern last offseason when the Chiefs never gave him a competitive offer. I think it's worse. He had 29 catches last year on a $16 million contract. So ESPN has wide receiver analytics. I think pretty cool. They have it based on speed and separation and hands. It's a whole complex thing. In the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2023, there have been 541 qualified seasons. 541. 2023, Juju Smith-Schuster ranked 520th. He couldn't separate. He couldn't catch. He couldn't do anything after the catch. Would you like to know who he was tied with in 520th?
Who's that?
2023 Sky Moore.
Oof.
By the way, the last 2 years of MVS, 528 and 532.
No.
Good luck, Buffalo.
I have an even hotter take. I would prefer him over Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney.
See, I'm not sure either of those guys.
Them.
I'm not sure either of those guys is making the Chiefs roster.
I would rather just keep Justin Ross and Nico Remigio. Honest to God, if it's between that group, I would just keep the 2 dudes who have something to prove. Yeah, I feel bad saying it because I don't want to say don't hire a guy. You never want to talk about someone like that, but frankly, I think it's over for Juju. I do. Dude, he was so bad. And I know the quarterback play was terrible too, but it's not like he was open. Like, if you go back and watch, because I know a couple of people who are, Patriots media members who will do film breakdowns, and no one could throw him the ball. Well, yeah, no one threw him the ball because he wasn't open, because he was getting guarded by linebackers and couldn't get away from them.
And he missed 6 games. Like, he wasn't on the field. That's another part of it, too.
Yeah, I unfortunately think that knee is going to end his career, which sucks. By all accounts, teammates love him. Everybody but Antonio Brown has always loved the guy.
And listen, if Antonio Brown doesn't like you, that's probably a good sign for your character, honestly.
Dude, he called him doo-doo bleep poopster.
Okay, that is kind of funny.
It's the meanest insult possible. Yeah, I don't think. I saw some people today say, oh, well, if the Chiefs did lose Rashee Rice for some time, when you're talking about actual role in the offense, that's probably the most seamless type of player you could add. And I don't necessarily disagree, but he's not good anymore. Like, I just think it's over. I just don't think he has anything left. And it sucks, but
I do think he's going to play more. There's more NFL games in front of him, but I don't think there are many. I do. I think the knee is probably beyond repair. We're never going to see the player that it looked like he was going to become those first 2 years in Pittsburgh, which is really too bad. That's going to do it for this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in the 3 o'clock hour, Matt Derrick will join us, our Chiefs insider, and we'll talk some Royals baseball. The Pasquatch is red hot. We'll talk all about that on the other side of this timeout. You're in the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 2 of this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Glad you're with us, staying cool on an unseasonably cool day for early August here in the capital city. I'm good with it. I like this early fall weather. I like the gray skies because you know what it's helping do? Bring my flower bed back.
There we go.
It was tough. It was tough sledding those 100-degree days.
Yeah.
My impatience were taking a beating. Coming back to life.
I too am impatient. Yeah, the heat, dude, my lawn's dead. My lawn went from overgrown brush to hideous brown sandpaper in like 72 hours.
That's tough.
It's looking rough.
You got a sprinkler or like water? No.
Honestly, for the most part, this year has just been keep it from getting like into jungle territory. It has very much just been a maintenance year. I've got, we got some fertilizing and weed killing plans.
A year 0 for landscaping for the Drzezinskis.
No, for real. Yeah. Landscaping Leipold over here really has some work to do. Oof. It was tough. The middle, there's a square in the middle of my backyard that is some sort of grass that I cannot find anywhere else. I have like 4 different grasses growing. It's a mess. And that part keeps growing and the ground is spongy. It's a whole thing. I saw a tweet a while back, very shortly after I bought my house, my wife and I bought our house, that said, at what point do you stop hating the person who owned your house before you? I am going on 6 months and I loathe them more every day. There's always something that comes up like, hey, what were you people doing? I'm not handy at all. But I look at the things these people were doing and I think, what in the world did you do to this house? Why is this like this? Why might this toilet at any given moment back up into the tub? Why did you glue the entire carpet to the floor and not just the edges of it?
Yeah, that's insanity. Like that's like
it's ludicrous.
That's like felony charges.
It's a lot. It's fine though. My parents are coming to visit next month.
Oh,
they're
lovely.
coming to see the house, and we have one room left that needs to be kind of rehabbed.
Okay,
and we're getting some quotes on it because even we're like we can't do this on our own. No, way too much to do for us to do it on our own.
My wife and I are keenly aware that like home improvement projects, we need to bring in an expert for that. And that was before we had the baby, and now like anything like. If I'm going to even go water the plants, I got to make sure the baby accounted for. Somebody watch Asher? Is Abby able to do this for the hour I might need to mow the lawn? My backyard needs to be mowed so bad.
Yeah,
I got to do it. I was sick last weekend. I didn't get around to it.
Yeah,
it's got to get done. It's starting to look a little jungle-ish.
Yeah,
we're losing branches on the big tree back there too. It's a whole thing.
Never fun.
It's a whole thing. Anyhow, this has been Garden Answers. I'm kidding. That's an entirely different program. With respect to Cameron from Skinner's Garden Center.
Yeah, the much more reputable program.
Much more reputable and knowledgeable. I need to ask him how I need to keep my impatience growing through the heat.
How's the pool doing?
I've been in it once this summer, which is one more time than my wife.
Oh.
But we've had some visitors use it. We're out of shock. I need to go buy some shock. And guys at Debaters gotta go buy some shock.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a chemical.
Oh, okay.
You shock the pool.
How old can a baby be before they go in a pool?
Older than Asher is now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we've got a ways to go. He's still not like we're still working on tummy time. Like we're not there for getting him in the water.
We're not getting to the Caleb Dressel teaching tape yet. Then
no, that's a ways to go.
All right, fair enough.
That's a ways out. Still to come on this hour of 580 Sports Talk, some actual sports. We're going to talk to Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider. He's going to join us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline at the bottom of this hour. We'll also do a round of On Second Thought as well. Still to come on the show. Our ranking of the NFL's quarterbacks, our top 10s, myself, Brendan, and Spencer, our top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League. We're going to crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll hear Mitch Holthus's preseason opener checklist, his training camp report in the 5 o'clock hour. Your text to the Top City Metal Supply text line at 785-272-9429 and your YouTube live comments as well. If you're watching the YouTube stream, our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can chat live with us and with fellow listeners. And if you have any gardening tips, clearly we're in need. So you can share those.
Big time.
You can share those on the text line or the YouTube live comments as well. Want to again note that this is when 580 Sports Talk is going to start on Monday, August 12th, and every day thereafter. We're moving to 3 hours starting on Monday. The agriculture program AgriTalk will air from 2 to 3 Mondays through Fridays here on 580 WIBW, and we will be on immediately following. A 3:06 start to the program moving forward starting Monday. Want to keep reminding you folks that if you turn on the radio at 2 o'clock on Monday and you don't hear us, don't panic. We're not canceled. We have not been canceled. Just giving an hour to our friends in the ag side of things. Because they are a great part of our audience, and we want to serve them better, and we want to continue to serve our sports audience as well. So that's what we're going to do. AgriTalk 2 to 3, 580 Sports Talk 3 to 6, your new afternoon lineup here starting on Monday. Let's get into some baseball, shall we? Royals were off last night. Got a chance to enjoy that win over the Red Sox for an extra day. They are back in action tonight. 2-game series, Friday and Saturday, against the St. Louis Cardinals. Also get to do some scoreboard watching today. A doubleheader in Minneapolis. Bottom of the 7th inning in Game 1. In fact, the bottom of the 7th just ended. So they're through 7 innings. And Minnesota leads Cleveland 4-2. It's a 4-game series this weekend and a chance for the Royals, if they take care of some business this weekend, to gain ground on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So that is certainly a series that will be worth watching. Minnesota leads Cleveland in the first of 2 today and 4 this weekend, 4-2 as they go to the 8th at Target Field. Did you happen to see what the attendance was for Wednesday night's game for the Royals?
16,500. Is that what it was?
Something like that. I'm getting the exact number here. Yeah, 16,550. Right on the money. 20,000 in the ballpark Monday night, 21,000 on Tuesday night, 16,500 on Wednesday night. That's the biggest midweek Royals series of the season to date, and it drew about equivalent. It drew a little more than the Arizona series. Arizona series was 16, 21, and 16, or 16, 22, and 16. We'll round up. The last midweek series at home before that was the Tampa Bay series at the beginning of July. That drew 17, 23, and 28. So I did expect bigger crowds with Boston in town, with the stakes being higher for these Royals than they have been for any Royals team since 2017. And I saw some folks on social media kind of frustrated with the fact that there weren't as many fannies in seats as you might have liked to otherwise see.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that perspective, but what I would add to that is, you know why they want a downtown ballpark so bad? Because that's how you get fannies in the seats with a season like this. You are very dependent, if you are a major league team, and this goes for anybody, you are very dependent on season ticket sales. 56-win teams don't sell a lot of season tickets. Even as active an offseason as the Royals had,
Mm-hmm.
it was still a 56-win team last year.
Yep.
Which is to say a 106-loss team, which is to say a cellar dweller again in a run of cellar-dwelling seasons in Kansas City. So naturally, season ticket sales didn't exactly tick up this offseason.
Yep.
So that's part of the reason you're seeing maybe less home attendance than you might have liked to have seen. The other reason is you don't do a lot of walk-up business when your ballpark is in the middle of a slab of concrete outside of your metropolitan area. Your walk-up sales are not going to be really a thing. You don't just like decide, oh, well, work's done, I'm going to go see the Royals.
Well, and you can't walk past San Diego. It's in the gas lamp district,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is such a cool part of San Diego, in an awesome city, and it's an awesome part of town. You can just walk up to the ballpark and say, you know what? 2, upper deck. That's what I want.
Yep.
If you want to do that at the K, you know what you have to do? Pay for parking.
Yeah.
And not a cheap amount.
Yeah, you do. And that's even if you decide, okay, I'm going to buy tickets on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on StubHub or MLB.com, secondary market, whatever. I'm going to buy some tickets to this game. Yeah, you're going to have to, right off rip, your entry is starting with the $20 you're going to have to pay for parking.
Mm-hmm.
Where in other cities, you might be able to choose where you park further away from the stadium, the less you have to pay to park. You might be able to do rapid transit, get to the ballpark that way, pay for a ticket on the bus or a ticket on like light rail or something like that. And those just are not options available to Royals fans. And so if there is a downtown ballpark for the Royals one of these days, you will see in a scenario like this, where the Royals are having a better season than anticipated and excitement is building. People are fired up about the Royals. Do not mistake the fact that there are only 16,550 people in the ballpark on Wednesday night for people not being excited about the Royals. You know how I know? I've got all kinds of anecdotal evidence, but the biggest part of it is we're still talking about them, and you're still talking about them with us. On the text line, in the YouTube comments. I hear about them when I go out and about. I see more Royals caps and T-shirts out. People are excited about this baseball team. But don't let the fact that attendance isn't maybe what you want to see make you feel like people aren't fired up, make you feel like, oh, people aren't appreciating what this Royals team is doing. It's a logistics thing, and it's you didn't sell enough season tickets because you were crummy the last 6 years thing. Those are the factors at play here. And I think next year, you're going to see a lot more people buying season tickets. You're going to see a lot bigger numbers for attendance. And I think that's going to be a benefit, but that's usually the year after the good year.
They're almost guaranteed to be a 500 or better going into the final month of the season. Like, starting tonight, they would have to lose 13 games in a row to go under 500. That would be August 24th. That would be a Saturday night game at home. They'd have to lose to the Phillies for the 13th time in a row for them to fall under 500. You know the last time the Royals were under 500 this year?
It was the Baltimore series. They started 2-4.
Yep, when they were 3-4.
And then
the Chicago
they
White Sox
started reeling off wins against the White Sox, and they haven't fallen behind.
They have never been 500 or worse
Thanks,
since then.
Chicago.
So 4-4 was the last time they were 500 or worse, if you want to go by that. 8 games into the year. There's no reason not to be excited. But, yes, this is why people want downtown park. Because I think we walked to the Rockies game when we went, pretty much.
Yeah.
We scalped tickets from the outside. We went and watched the Rockies play.
Yes.
Like,
if you're downtown, you just have to get downtown. And the ballpark is within walking distance. Or instead of having one parking lot you can choose to park at, you can park like 6 blocks from the stadium for $10. You can park 10 blocks from the stadium for like $5. Or you can park at the Park and Ride and buy a train ticket, a round trip train ticket for $8 or $9 or whatever it is these days. And you go to the game that way. It drop you off 4 blocks from the ballpark. So yes, that's a big part of it. That is a big part of it. But I want people to understand the attendance numbers are what they are for a variety of reasons. They have nothing to do with how fired up people are about this team, because people are fired up. We've seen the anecdotal evidence. We know it to be true. One of the reasons that people are fired up, and one of the reasons that the Royals have played well of late in particular, has been the play of the Pasquatch. Vinnie Pasquantino is on an 11-game hitting streak, and over the course of that streak, he's batting .362. A .375 on base, and a .787 slugging percentage. He's got 6 home runs in his last 11 games, and he's driven in 17. He's on pace to drive in over 100 runs. Who was the last Royal to drive in 100 runs?
Mike Sweeney.
Salvador Perez or Bobby Witt Jr.?
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was Salvi in the 48 homers.
Yeah,
season.
you're right about that.
Junior didn't get to 100 RBIs last year?
No, he was.
Even though he had a 30 for 30?
I think he was decently short of it, if I remember correctly. But I might not remember correctly.
I'm pulling up the single season batting leaders for the Royals. We'll make sure we get this exactly right.
Bobby only had 84. In fact, I'm sorry, he had 96 last year. He has 84 so far this year. Yeah, 96 a year ago.
Yeah, Salvi's 121 in 2021. That's third most in Royals history. Prior to that, Soler did it in 2019 when he hit all those home runs. And then you have to go back to Hosmer. In 2016, he drove in 104. So, yeah, only 3 times the last 7 seasons, 8 seasons, have the Royals had a 100 RBI guy. They're going to have 2 this year. I don't know when the last time was they had 2. I'm trying to scan and see if that's even ever happened.
They could realistically have 3. Junior, Perez, and Vinny each could top the century mark.
2000, Sweeney, Dye, and Joe Randa all drove in 100 runs.
I think Junior, barring an injury, Salvi, Vinny, and Bobby are all going to eclipse the century mark, in my opinion.
I think it could happen.
Got a real good chance at it.
So, Vinny's been great. And we were talking, you and I, off air, Brendan. Is this a hot streak, or is this like Pasquantino kind of rounding into form? And I sort of think there's broader evidence that it's the latter, given the fact that we know he's coming off the shoulder injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming off a shoulder surgery last year. If you watched Pasquantino in his last like month of at-bats before he had the torn labrum operated on, it was hard to watch. Like, he did not look like the same hitter who had come up and had a lot of success in half a season as a rookie in 2022. He wasn't driving the ball with any authority. He wasn't pulling the ball out of the ballpark. It was really difficult to watch those at bats. And I think it might have just taken him a couple of months to get back into the swing of things, because he wasn't awesome in the spring and he got off to a slow start this season. He wasn't good in April. It took him 11 games to drive in a run. Since May 1st, Vinny's batting .290, a .329 on base, a .487 slug, 19 doubles, 13 home runs, 70 runs driven in. So I think there's broader evidence. We take the small sample size where he's been stupid hot. We make it a little bigger. We drag it all the way out to the start of May. I think what we're seeing is Vinnie Pasquantino kind of resuming being the middle of the order force that it looked like he was going to be when they called him up.
So if you took his numbers from May 1st through the last game against Boston, and you extrapolated those over a 162 game season, he would end up with 25 home runs, 137 runs batted in. That's a lot. As well as a 290, like you said, the slash line, 290, 329, 487. That's an 816 OPS for the season. Batting average on balls in play is just a tick under 300. That's a good number to be at. That's about league average. I mean, that's the player we want him to be, right? That's the player that we were just talking about the other day when I said that I want him to either be able to hit for a little bit more power or do a better job of getting on base. That's what I'm talking about there. And if this, from May 1st to today, if those numbers and that player I'm talking about is who the Royals had, that's a dude who's going to hit third through fifth for you for the entirety of his contract, and you probably consider giving him another one. Like, that is a really good major league player, and 83 games is more than enough to say this is a trend. This is more than just a hot streak when you go all the way back to May 1st. Now, I am still concerned about the fact that during that stretch, he has only walked 5% of the time. I think he's got a better batting eye and has shown in the past better batting patience than that. So that's something that I think could seriously take a step forward. But even with the lack of bases on balls, I'm completely fine with this as a player, as a core piece of this team. Not just, yeah, he's nice to have, but as a true core piece of this team. I'm all for it if this is the Vinny we get.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I do think that he has become a good hitter and a middle of the order threat in a very different way than I thought he was going to as a player. Because when he came up in 2022, in his 72 games, 298 plate appearances, he walked more than he struck out. He walked 35 times in his first 298 plate appearances and only struck out 34 times. He walked in 12% of his at-bats. That's well above the league average of about 8%. He has the same number of walks this year, 35, in 467 plate appearances. His walk rate has gone down below the league average to 7.5%. And this year, he is striking out more, 13% of the time, 60 strikeouts in his 467 at-bats. Looking at some of the broader numbers, like how that contextualizes with the league, he's still a lot better at avoiding the strikeout than the average hitter. He's in the 94th percentile in strikeout percentage. I'm looking at the Baseball Savant numbers now. So, like, as far as not striking out, putting the bat on the ball, one of the best in the game. That's kind of what I thought he was going to be. I thought he'd be a high average, maybe middle power sort of first baseman, a guy more likely to hit 300 than hit 30 home runs. Let me put it that way.
I agree.
A guy who I felt like could hit 300, but I didn't feel like he was going to get to 30 home runs. Now, it almost feels like he's traded a little bit of, okay, I'm not going to be so patient. I'm going to try and get a pitch early in a count, and I'm going to try to hit it out of the ballpark,
Mhm.
or at least try to hit it in the air. I think he's more pull conscious and more power conscious now as a hitter. And now it feels a lot more likely that he's going to get to 30 home runs at some point in his career than it does that he would hit 300, because he's still making a good amount of contact, but he's not getting deep into counts, maybe forcing pitchers to give him better pitches when he gets into better counts, chasing a little more than I thought he was going to. His chase rate has gone up since his rookie year. He's still a good hitter, and I think he's going to be a good hitter for some time to come.
Yeah.
Just a different kind of good hitter than I anticipated. And here's the other part. There's still a chance that he puts it all together and that he pairs that elite patience and contact ability that he showed as a rookie with some of the power and run production that he's showing now. And then you know what he is? An all-star.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man, even if you are batting 290 and you can get that on base to, you can get that to 350, 360. I mean, that would bump him up to like an OPS in the mid 800s. I mean, that kind of player is you don't find those. Those don't grow on trees. Most teams would die to have a player who has that kind of offensive potential. So I hope that this is I hope that this is what we see long term. I hope he is able to replicate this long term. And if he can, that's a core piece. That is without question. For now, he probably is anyway, but without question.
I think he is anyway. Remember, they had an opportunity. They wanted to go get starting pitching this offseason, and they had a trade offer on the table to go get Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins.
Yes, they did.
Had a rough year this year and then got hurt and is probably not going to pitch again this year, just like every other good Marlins pitcher. Sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make. But that was the offer that was on the table. If they wanted to get Luzardo, who was awesome in 2023, and any team would have gotten better on paper adding him to their 2024 rotation, it was going to cost him Vinnie Pasquantino. And the Royals didn't want to do it. And I think it's not just the production, it's the person. I think Vinnie Pasquantino is a big deal in that locker room. He seems like the guy that keeps things a little bit loose, that, you need the guy who's the fun guy. I want to stop short of calling him the vibes guy, because I think vibes guy implies that he's not helping the team production-wise.
Correct.
That's not true for a guy who's going to drive in 100 runs. But I do. I think that he is a personality in that clubhouse that really meshes well with the rest of the personalities in that clubhouse. And I think they want to keep him around for a good long while to come, just for that reason, as much as what he's doing at the plate. By the way, to put a bow on this, last time the Royals had 200 RBI guys in the same year, 2002. Can you guess who they were? These are names you know.
Mike Sweeney.
No.
2002. Die?
No.
Okay. I'm not going to get it.
Carlos Beltran.
Okay.
Raul Ibanez.
Yeah, I would not have gotten that.
That was that was the first big year for 30-year-old Raul Ibanez.
He was 30 plus for, like, I feel like he was 38 years old for about 7 seasons.
He hit more homers in his 40s than he did in his 20s.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That is wild.
One of the all-time unique careers, old Raul Ibanez. Good point, too, real quick, from the Top Steam Mails Fly text line from the 785, pointing out that from keeping an eye on injuries based on playing fantasy baseball, it seems like it takes half to 2/3 of a season to fully get back after a major shoulder injury. It seems like it saps power. Arm injuries, wrist injuries, hand injuries, shoulder injuries, I think all kind of have that same effect. And I don't think it's a mistake that we're starting to see now in the second half. Vinny hit the ball over the fence. And some of those doubles from early in the season are starting to turn into home runs. And just in time, too. For this Royals team as they make a playoff push. Again, Royals tonight, 7:10 first pitch, 6:30 pregame on the Royals Baseball Network. Game 1 of 2 this weekend in the I-70 series against the Cardinals. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, a quick round of On Second Thought before we get to our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, from the Drive to Zero studio here on 580 WIBW. A round of on second thought here on 580 Sports Talk. The gang's all here for this one. Spencer Dupuis joining Dan Lucero and Brendan Dworzinski with Trenton Kraxner across the glass. On second thought for me, like, I would probably have gone to the same left-handers that Matt Cottrero did on Monday and Tuesday night. I probably would have gone to a lefty against Duran on Monday night in a tie game. Probably would have gone to the lefty against Yoshida on Tuesday night. But after those things went bust on him, I wondered if he would manage the Wednesday night game with the proper urgency, and he did. He went to his best guy, regardless of the platoon advantage on Wednesday night, and ended up paying off in the 8-4 victory, going to Lucas Urseg with that 4-run lead in the 7th. So maybe Matt Cotrero's learning on the fly, and he's going to need to as the stakes get higher for the Royals here down the stretch.
I thought that Noah Lyles was going to win the 200. I thought he was going to be the first American to do the double in, 40 years, in 1984?
Yeah.
And he got COVID, and that wasn't going to happen.
They got to give him like a special colored medal for even getting out of bed with asthma and COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Second thought for me this week, I believe it was Tuesday on the show. It would have been final word, or it was when we were talking Royals. I did say Seth Lugo was going to cruise through that one, and Bobby Witt was going to have a homer, and it was going to be a nice old win for the Royals. That didn't happen. But on the next night, Bobby Witt Jr. had 2 home runs.
Okay, so on average, you
were late. You were a day late.
Never wrong, just late.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good philosophy. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com joins us next here on 580 WIBW. Let's go to Kansas City and talk Chiefs with our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. That's where you can read all of his outstanding insight into the two-time defending Super Bowl champions. You can also follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Friday at this time. Matt, are you ready for some Chiefs football?
I absolutely am. I mean, I saw the team on Twitter getting off X, whatever you call it, getting off the plane. I mean, getting real. So there's actually going to be some Chiefs football tomorrow night.
We were talking about this earlier, Matt. If it were not your job to watch preseason football, how much preseason football do you think you would watch?
Oh, that's a great question, because I seem to recall that when it wasn't my job, I mean, I think just the level of attention would drop off. I feel like I still watched pretty much the entire game. Just doesn't mean I was paying as much attention to the last part of the game. So yeah, I don't blame anybody for bailing on at any point that you want to in a preseason game.
All right, that's good to know. You have Matt Derrick's permission, if it means anything to you, to bail on the preseason game at any point. On Saturday night, the Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 6:00 kickoff. Again, the radio broadcast will be heard on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, WIBW FM 94.5 on your FM dial. Matt, is there another answer to the question, who is the most intriguing Chief to watch in this preseason opener, that is not Kingsley Suamataia, or is he kind of the obvious choice?
I think it's got to be the obvious choice, right? I mean, there's some others that I guess are entertaining in a certain sort of way, but not impactful. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the one for sure. I mean, we'll see how much he plays. I'll be intrigued to see if they let him play, maybe a little bit longer than the rest of the first team or the rest of the offensive line. I think that'll kind of give us a hint about just how entrenched maybe he is in the first team in that number one spot. But yeah, I mean, I think you want to see it. I mean, he's passed every test so far, but now you want to see what happens when he's going up against the live competition in a real situation. Because this is the last test that he's got to pass.
What does your gut tell you about how much Suamataia is going to play? Because we know, despite what Andy Reid would tell the media, it's not a hard and fast rule that the starters get the entire first quarter. But I would imagine that, like last year, the first team offense got 5 snaps in the preseason opener before they turned the ball over on downs. I would imagine that Andy Reid and company would like to see more than just 5 snaps from Suamataia. So what's your gut feeling? Is he just going to be out there with the ones, or are we going to see quite a bit of him?
Yeah, it really is a good question. And I mean, typically, hey, you would expect at least they want to get the first team all together, at least a decent drive. If Mahomes goes out there and goes 3 and out, maybe he comes back out for a second drive. I think they want at least, like last year, I think that the first team offense ran 6 plays maybe. So I could see that. And, and then, if that's enough for Mahomes, that's enough. But then the second team line, usually Andy Reid wants to get them at least a drive or two, or the first team line, a little bit of time with the backup quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if the first team line stays in for another drive or two. It gives them a chance to look at Kingsley a little bit, gives them a chance to look at Mike Caliendo, who will probably be starting at left guard, get to see Carson Wentz behind, so a little bit of protection. He would probably, though, be getting the receivers he's been working with most. So probably is not going to be out there with Hollywood and Rashee Rice, but the guys that he normally works with in practice. And then you kind of start rotating in. So I think, the Andy Reid plan kind of maybe kicks in starting in the second quarter. But you're right. There's nothing hard and fast when it comes to the first team, and especially Mahomes. Mahomes just wants to go out there and basically, like he usually says, maybe get pushed to the ground once. But other than that, that's about the most he wants to be involved in a preseason game.
We know we won't see Joe Thuney or Justin Reed or Nick Bolton in this preseason opener. Anybody else you expect that we will not see as far as guys who would be starters if this game mattered?
Yeah, that's I think the real question is probably going to be at the cornerback spot, whether we'll see Najee Johnson and Jalen Watson, because both of those guys are obviously competing, and I think they would play a lot if this were a regular season game. But both of them just coming back from injury. Jalen Watson just cut out of the non-contact yellow jersey this week. and Najee Johnson's kind of been bouncing back and forth. He's had that knee and hamstring kind of issue that he's been dealing with. So I could see both of them sitting out. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Anybody else who's got kind of a short-term injury, I don't think Chris Jones is going to play. You've mentioned the other guys. Kelvin Joseph, not a starter, but he's been out, so I wouldn't expect him to play. Anybody that's even semi-questionable, you just don't typically play them in a game like this. You're going to give them some time to continue to get ready and see about the next preseason game.
Matt Derrick is our guest. He covers the Kansas City Chiefs better than anybody, and he does so at ChiefsDigest.com. Find him on Twitter as well, at Matt Derrick. He joins us every Friday at this time for our Chiefs Insider on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, at this stage of his pro career, which includes 0 postseason, regular season, or even preseason snaps, what all can Xavier Worthy do? Like right now, is he just a guy who's going to go out there and run clear routes and 9 routes? Or do you think the Chiefs are going to be able to get a little bit more of a diverse route tree out of him early on here, preseason included?
Oh, yeah, I think they're going to be able to get a diverse route tree out of him, no problem. I mean, the question for me is just going to be, how much he can rotate through at different positions. They really want him to focus on the Z position. So that's going to be, he's going to be lining up probably opposite side from Hollywood Brown. It means he would probably be in motion a lot. That's obviously something that they feel like that he can handle and do. So, it's a possibility of seeing him on end arounds, reverses. I mean, he and Rashee Rice will probably both kind of share that role a little bit as being a guy in motion that might be involved in that. How much of that you see in the preseason? That's maybe questionable. I mean, those are some more exotic concepts that usually you see a lot of vanilla in the preseason. Doesn't mean that, they couldn't sprinkle a little bit there and there just to see what those guys can do. But no, based on what we have seen in training camp, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, especially, it helps that Xavier Worthy has so much college experience and game playing experience. I mean, basically a starter for 3 full years. That's a lot. And it's in a high caliber, big end, big conference experience. So I think he's well prepared for that. I mean, he's obviously a solid, I think, more established route runner. I think even more established than Rashee Rice was coming in last year. So I think that he's well prepared for a larger role. We'll just see how much of the offense that they feel comfortable feeding him, and how much they feel like they do need to protect him in year one, just to make sure that he's not swimming in his mind a little bit, and also, I mean, just not putting him into positions where he's not comfortable mentally or physically. I mean, size is, once again, a factor here. I mean, I do think that they want to make sure that they just don't overuse him early on.
When it comes to using pre-snap motion and shifts and all of that, I know there's a major talking point these days when it comes to just breaking down the game, that you use that to try to get the quote-unquote layups, the easy stuff, the easy touches to a receiver. And sometimes the idea is you do that for a guy who might need those manufactured touches, or sometimes you do like what Miami does with Tyreek Hill, and you get him going in motion and get the easy stuff to him because he's so dynamic once he gets the ball in his hands. Which Chiefs receiver do you think benefits the most, or at least could benefit the most, from getting some more of those easier looks, those easier touches in the motion game?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, I would say if you're talking about it in that respect, you probably are talking about Xavier Worthy. I mean, I think that would just be a good way to be able to get him going. The thing is that Rashee Rice is really good at that stuff too. So I can really, and he has such a big body that's where, I mean, I think he can be an advantage. I mean, he was, once upon a time was a running back, and now he's too big to be a running back on a regular basis. But you see it when he gets the ball in his hands. He runs like a running back, even if he's a receiver catching the ball downfield. But, we've seen him in training camp, using both those guys on end arounds, reverses, wide receiver screens, anything that, to get those guys the ball in space and let them just kind of make guys miss or run through things. They're both equipped for it. Different styles for sure between Rice and Worthy. They can both do it. I do think it would be better and more helpful for Worthy, just because, like I said, I think it's just a good way to get him started, build some confidence, get him some early successes. Whereas for Rice, I mean, I think it's much more strategic. You get him behind the line of scrimmage with a full head of steam and running, away from the defense. I think, parallel to the line of scrimmage, I think that's a good way to pick up some yards.
Matt, what do you make of Carson Steele being listed as a fullback on the depth chart, and really the idea that the Chiefs might want to bring back the fullback after Michael Burton did not return this past season?
Yeah, I'm going to be really surprised and intrigued to see, how much they use Carson Steele tomorrow night, because he's not really a fullback. I mean, he was a regular running back at UCLA, wasn't a special skill set of his, so he's really playing fullback for the first time essentially. He'll probably get some touches at both. I mean, I say touches. I mean, fullback is probably just going to be out there blocking. They might throw the football to him a little bit. But I'd expect tomorrow night he's probably going to get a series or two, maybe more, as the running back. I mean, they do want, if he's, I think if a guy like Carson Steele makes the team, I don't think it's as strictly as just a fullback. I think he's going to have to make the team as a multi-purpose player, somebody that could be a running back if you need them in a pinch, somebody that can play tight end if you need them in a pinch. So I feel like in that world, Carson Steele probably makes the team in place of a fourth tight end because he's a guy that you feel like can do all of that, play special teams. I mean, you're not going to keep a Carson Steele on the roster just for the 3 times a game that you might need a fullback in short yardage. He's got to be able to do a lot more than that. And my question is going to be, is he ready to do that now? Or does he need a year on the practice squad of seasoning in order to be ready to be that kind of multifaceted?
We're joined by Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, we talked a while ago, probably right around OTA period, about the new kickoff rules and, Justin Reed getting a shot at it. Obviously, Justin Reed on the NFI right now, and probably wouldn't play in the first preseason game. But a guy that we kind of talked maybe getting a little run at kickoff was Luis Rees-Zammit. Do you think the Chiefs are going to show what they've been working on in game 1 of the preseason, or they're going to keep that for game 1 of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, so far it seems like everybody is keeping their kickoff secrets vanilla. I mean, they don't want to put out anything there that they're working on in the preseason. They kind of want to keep it secret. And I expect the Chiefs to be the same way. I mean, I would be intrigued to see if maybe they do put Luis Rees-Zammit out there for a kickoff if they get an opportunity, maybe in the second half, just to experiment with it to see what he can do. If he comes in and does that, I think you're not going to see a traditional deep kickoff. I think he would do a squib type kick. I mean, that's the tricky thing is that, and why I think that the Chiefs are leaning more and more towards maybe using Harrison Butker more on kickoffs, even for the regular season, is just that, you've got to be able to put that ball almost in a perfect spot. It can't just be kicking it down there and hoping for the best. I mean, you got to make sure it's in the landing zone inside the 20. You have to make sure it's not too far, so it's not going in the end zone if you really truly want to force a return and not just give the opposing team the ball at the 30 or the 40. There's different outcomes there. So, I think I'll be interested to see what the Chiefs really do when it comes to the regular season, because at one time it seems like, maybe they were going to use a Justin Reed or a Luis Rees-Zammit to have an extra tackler out there. Now it seems like they're definitely favoring, the position of the football being more important than anything else. And if that's the case, then Butker's probably going to do most of that work. He's taken a lot of kicks, but I'll say this. I don't think we're going to see any of the different kicks that he does tomorrow night. I think we're going to see him just trying to drop the ball about the 5-yard line and just do a traditional coverage and see what they can kind of yield in a situation like that.
Do you think tomorrow Rees-Zammit gets any real opportunity on offense?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think the Chiefs have got to be torn a little bit about showing too much and too little of Luis Rees-Zammit. I was really intrigued because this is a good test for him. I mean, going up against another team, getting hit against another team, I think would really be good for him, especially for just, still refining some of his techniques that look still a little, stiff and upright with his running style. I think it'd be really good for him. But what's the worst case scenario for the Chiefs? I think that would be you put him out there on a kick return and he takes it back 95 yards. And now there's every team in the league is like, hey, we want this guy to be our kick returner. I think the Chiefs would love to be able to have the option to try and sneak him onto the practice squad, because the reality of it is that, I mean, from what we've seen in training camp, as a running back, as a just traditional football player, he's not ready. There's a couple of things that he's really good at and a couple of things that he can do really well. I'm just not sure if he's got enough tools in his tool chest right now to be an every, even a more than just a chess piece. I mean, I think that the Chiefs would love to be able to get him more seasoning, because the view is that they still love the talent. They still think there's a lot there, but he just needs more seasoning. And it's not just a couple of weeks. It's probably more like months, maybe an entire year. They just like to have that option, I think, of being able to redshirt him on the practice squad and not have to carry him on the 53. But how much you showcase him in a preseason game and how successful he is might change that equation.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. He is our Chiefs insider and joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Check him out on Twitter at Matt Derrick. And, of course, read what he has to say over at ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, it is always a pleasure to speak with you. We look forward to doing it again next week. Enjoy watching the back-to-back Super Bowl champions take the field, at least the important guys, for like a drive or two on Saturday.
There you go, Dan. You can watch it as long as you want. I give you permission. I mean, I know for your job, you probably need to watch the whole thing, but watch as much as you feel you need to.
All right. I appreciate the permission. I think we all do. Thank you, Matt.
Take care, guys.
That is Matt Derrick. And that wraps up this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll crown a What Is Wrong With You champion, do an Olympic roundup, and rank the top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League. That's coming up from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 on 580 Sports Talk. Here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on video on our Facebook page, WIBW News, and on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Delighted to be with you. The gang's all here. I'm Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski, and Spencer Dupuis are in studio with me. Trenton Craxner, our summer intern, is across the glass, our producer engineer. We have got 2 more hours plus some overtime today. We're going to have a overtime conversation of the day, take you up until 6:30, and then we'll give way to the Royals Baseball Network prior to game 1 of their 2-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals. So, yes, they play tonight, they play tomorrow, and on Sunday, I don't know, clean your garage, mow the lawn. Lots of things you can do on Sunday that aren't watch baseball if you were planning on watching baseball on a Sunday afternoon because the Royals are off. They have a Sunday off.
It's dumb.
You know,
it's very stupid.
it's also very stupid that their game tomorrow night is the same time as the Chiefs game. Although it's the preseason, right?
Yeah.
As Matt Derrick said, but still, as a person that, you know, kind of has to watch both.
Get you multiple TVs, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm excited to have an excuse to get down in the sports cave. It's been a while since I've had to make good use of the sports cave, but
you really can't.
The sports dungeon, if you will.
I see what you're saying, though, Spencer, because during football season, I always have 3 running, and sometimes a 4th if I bring out a computer or my phone to watch something. But it is hard to give your full attention to both.
Yeah.
The good news is your fullest attention can be on the Chiefs for 20 to 30 minutes, and then you can really dig into the baseball.
Yeah.
So, that is true, though. The Royals' first pitch is 6:10 tomorrow night, and the Chiefs kick off at 6 o'clock. If you're wanting to hear either of those games, the Royals, of course, right here on 580 WIBW. If you want to hear Mitch Holthus call the Chiefs and the Jaguars in the preseason opener for the Chiefs, that'll be over on our sister station, the big 94.5 Country, 94.5 WIBW FM. We'll talk a little bit more Chiefs later on. Speaking of Mitch Holthus, we'll hear from him in the 5 o'clock hour. Another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union. We'll also preview that Royals-Cardinals series a little bit later on. Trenton's fired up about the Royals lineup today.
He really is.
He likes what he's seeing on the lineup card for Matt Quatrero to go after Miles Michaelis tonight.
You know what? Oh, I'm not going to say it. Awesome lineup. That's not what I was going to say, but great lineup. Probably one of the best.
Only imagine.
That was very mature.
Well, I was going to make a comment on Miles Michaelis, but I'll tell you later.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Maybe the best lineup Matt Quattro's put out all year tonight.
Okay.
Because there's no Adam Frazier or Garrett Hampton.
Addition by subtraction.
Hey, did you guys see Jake Eisenberg's tweet from earlier today?
No.
What did he say?
1 year ago today, Michael Lorenzen made his home debut with the Phillies and threw a no-hitter. Tonight, he makes his home debut with the Royals.
I would take a no-hitter. I'd be all right with that.
No hitter would be sick.
That would get full attention tonight, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It absolutely would. Coming up later on this hour, we'll crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We will also have our Olympic roundup. You're, of course, invited to interact with the program. We'd love to hear from you as we get started ranking the quarterbacks, number 10 through Patrick Mahomes in the National Football League. The Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. You can make use of the text line. Also, if you're watching live in the YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can comment in the live chat. There's a live chat feature on the YouTube app and the website, and you can interact with other listeners and interact with your hosts throughout the show in the YouTube live comments. And hey, if you're watching on Facebook, WIBW News, which is another option for you, you can send us comments, leave comments in the Facebook stream, and we'll see those as well. So all kinds of ways to interact with us. And we do want to hear your thoughts as we start part 2 of our 2-part series, ranking the NFL quarterbacks. So yesterday, in case you missed it, and if you did miss it and you want to hear it, It's on our podcast page on our website, 580wibw.com. Just hover over that podcast tab, click 580 Sports Talk. Or you can watch the archived video from yesterday as well on our YouTube channel. If you missed it yesterday, what we did was we ranked the bottom 5 quarterbacks who we each think are the bottom 5 quarterbacks in the league, and then our next 5 quarterbacks 15 through 11. Quarterbacks that we think, yeah, they're all right, but they're not top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Guys, do you mind resetting your lists 11 through 15 or 15 through 11? So names that are not going to come out of our mouths otherwise today. Names that are not in our top 10 but just missed. Mine from 15 to 11, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott.
I, 15 to 11, had Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins. I'll stop enunciating like that. Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua being 11th.
Spencer?
All right, my 15 to 11, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, and Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, so those are all players. If you heard them from us, they're not in our top 10. We're going to go from 1 down to 10 instead of going from 10 up to 1.
because there's no drama.
Because there's
clearly.
no drama at number 1. And if you're watching along on the video stream, we're going to have some graphics so you can follow along a little bit. The number 1 quarterback in the league is Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty. There's no discussion. When I said earlier that the Chiefs are really boring in a good way, like there's no debate here. Like if you say, I think Josh Allen is great because X, Y, and Z, and I think Joe Burrow is great because he's the only quarterback who stood toe-to-toe with Mahomes' team and beat him. Okay, well, Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs and is already, according to Pro Football Reference's Hall of Fame monitor, is already one of the 20 most accomplished quarterbacks ever, which that's a measure of career sustained success. To have that and not even be 30 is almost it's impossible. The fact that he is that high on that list is insane.
Yeah.
There's no discussion. There's no debate. And if someone tries to debate you, don't listen. It's not worth your time.
Nobody is taking number 1 on this list for some years. It's not going to be debatable for at least the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
With all due respect to the young guys in this league. And I don't think Mahomes is going to win the next 3 or 4 Super Bowls, but he's the best quarterback in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got that heavyweight belt, and he's going to have it for some years to come. All right. Now it gets interesting. Number 2. Real quick, we'll name our guys and then we'll discuss.
Okay.
So I'll go first, then Brendan, then Spencer.
I think we might be unanimous on this one too.
My number 2 quarterback in the league is Josh Allen.
I also have Josh Allen.
I have Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
I actually love that you picked Lamar second. I'm glad that somebody picked Lamar second because I feel I'm very confident in it being Josh Allen, but also it is kind of wild that Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, is younger than Mahomes by a year, about the same age. They're approximately the same age. And it's just he's pretty good. The national discussion, he's pretty good. He's got 2 MVPs.
2
He's
MVPs.
really good.
Do you know how many quarterbacks don't have 2 MVPs?
Almost all of them forever.
Yes.
That's my exact reasoning for picking him number 2 was the fact that he's got 2 MVPs.
And he's coming off of one of them.
Yeah, he just had one. I think Derrick Henry's going to be a decent running back to have behind him. I think they added to their receiver core, and I think they're set up for a good 2024. Probably about the same as they were last year.
Did they add to their receiver core?
Walker.
Yeah, they drafted Tez Walker.
They drafted Tez Walker. Okay. Yeah. I don't know that there's going to be much difference between what he brings as a rookie and what Odell Beckham Jr.
No, but I
brought
think
last
they'll
year.
be about the same as they were last year.
So, yeah, they I think, lost a lot in a number of places, but they did definitely add there. He actually had a really good connection with Nelson Aguilar last year, which is bizarre because we know what Nelson Aguilar is, but they had a good connection. Anyone else still have Rashad Bateman stock? Anyone?
No. I'm out on him.
That's fine. I'll be alone in that. If you wanted to buy more stock in Lamar and if you wanted to bump him up your rating because of with projection in mind, he's lost weight this offseason, and he's even talked about he thinks he's going to be faster than he has been the last couple of years, which I think is fair. And year 2 in the offensive system. And I'm really worried about their offensive line, but year 2 in a system is, generally speaking, a year when you can take big strides forward. It was for Jared Goff. It was for even a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, he took off then. Matt Ryan with Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. So I think there's reason to buy in. I have him a little bit lower, but I'm glad somebody picked him number 2.
Here's my reason for ranking Josh Allen above Lamar Jackson. Anybody who says Lamar Jackson isn't a good passer doesn't know ball, like, at all. Like, Lamar Jackson is a good thrower of the football. That's verifiable.
Yes. Agreed.
But Josh Allen is better at that than him. And I think they are, at the very least, equal as rushing weapons, just in a different way. Like, Lamar Jackson's the open field threat. Josh Allen, not so shabby in the open field himself, but he's the short yardage. Like, he's Cam Newton. Like, he's like prime Cam Newton, that 2015 MVP Cam Newton. That's Josh Allen every single year. That he's that player, and he's that kind of weapon in the short yardage. Kind of weapon in the running game.
This is unfair to both Josh Allen and Cam Newton to say this. I think Josh Allen's better than Cam Newton.
Yes, by quite a bit.
But
like, peak Cam Newton is what Josh Allen is all the time.
MVP, like, peak Cam Newton is probably underrated now because of how badly he fell off. I think Allen's a better thrower, though. But it sucks for Josh Allen because he's got to play at the same time as Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Like, that sucks.
Tough. Yeah. Happened to Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Somebody had to be Charles Barkley. All right, number 3, that's where I have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case. I've got Burrow there. That's just a flavor thing.
And Spencer?
That's where I have Allen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow, 3 different answers at number 3. I knew this would get interesting.
Yeah. I'll go first with Burrow. I mean, I like Lamar a lot. I will be saying his name very soon. I just really like what Burrow brings to the table as a thrower. I think he is a better thrower of the football than Lamar is. I'm not going to make the comparison here because you get into like weird stereotypes, but I think Burrow's, like, he does not have the strongest arm. I think it's better than some people give him credit for. Like, it's not as bad as Tua's arm, for example, but it's not Mahomes. It's not Allen. I think he probably has a little bit better just arm strength than Lamar does. He is the most Brady-like quarterback in the league, just based on how he executes. Now, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but just in terms of how he executes, I love the way he runs that team, the field general part of his game. Not to discredit anyone who I have behind him. I just personally really like the way he plays quarterback. And I think at his best, he's got MVP caliber stuff. It's also a major concern that he's been injured for multiple seasons and has had major injuries, but I'm willing to still put him on the podium.
I like Burrow quite a bit. You're going to hear his name out of my mouth here fairly soon. But for me, the top 3 guys, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson, those are the 3 guys where you say, uh-oh, that guy can't beat us. In terms of just what he does. Like, I don't think you go into a Bengals game thinking, we can't let Joe Burrow beat us. I think you think that about Jamar Chase and the weapons he's got in the passing game, and Burrow is extremely gifted at getting the ball out to those guys. But I don't go into Bengals games thinking, oh, man, Joe Burrow. You can't let Joe Burrow beat you. When you play the Ravens, you can't let Lamar beat you. When you play the Bills, can't let Josh Allen beat you. When you play the Chiefs, can't let Mahomes beat you.
Exactly.
For me, Joe Burrow is not that guy. That's the line here.
Okay.
That's why I have Jackson over Burrow. That and the 2 MVPs.
I mean, I kind of echo exactly what you just said, but I've got Allen third. I think Lamar can do a little bit more than Allen.
Okay.
That's why I have it ranked the way that I do. But Allen's solid. I mean, he gets the hand that he's dealt sometimes, and this year he's going to have a rookie wide receiver. And then a guy that's not necessarily a starting wide receiver with Curtis Samuel. So interesting to see how he's going to do this year.
I don't know how spicy this is to say. I think of all these dudes, I don't think anyone has to do more for their team than Josh Allen does.
Exactly.
No, 100%. And that's the biggest problem. That's why the Bills are what they are.
Yep.
Because they are too reliant on Josh Allen.
I agree.
All right, number 4. This is where I have Joe Burrow.
And it's where I have Lamar. Yeah, for me, sorry to jump in front of you, but I think it's just a flavor thing. I think Lamar's great for all the reasons we've already talked about.
And Spencer?
And this is where I have Joey B as well.
Okay.
I think
so we've all got the same top 4.
Your exact wording to the last one is where it is for me. Like, Joey B's got all the weapons. He's also been hurt a little bit. So there's a little bit more to discover from him. If he can stay healthy for a full season, he could next year be in that top 3 if he's able to stay healthy for a full year, I think.
Okay.
I get it.
All right. So we all have the same top 4, just in some different order, but that tracks for me.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting.
I think
for me, the top 4 were the easiest to fill out, and then I agonized over 5 through 15.
I had a little trouble with Generally speaking, yes, I agree.
Okay.
I won't split hairs.
All right. Number 5. I'm actually going to let you guys go first on number 5. Go ahead, Brendan. Who's your number 5?
I put Herbert.
I have Herbert as well.
Easy call for you guys?
I think once you get past Joe Burrow, it was in my mind you have Herbert as the leader of those guys, because there's a couple guys that are still unproven for me.
So you're going on raw ability here.
Yes, and I think the guys below him either are one's kind of resurrecting his career on a good team for once and won a Super Bowl, but the other guys, they're still building up their career, and two guys I just don't really like, but they're top 10 quarterbacks.
I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yours.
Number 5, I have Brock Purdy. Guys,
wow.
Back-to-back conference championship appearances.
Wait. Mister, I don't think the Niners are going to re-sign him?
I don't, because I think Kyle Shanahan believes it's not the quarterback, it's the system.
I'm shocked. Wow.
Guy, look, I didn't want to do this. I looked for every reason not to put Brock Purdy in my top 5. But he got better last year. He improved as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, there are questions about these other guys that are behind him that I think are valid questions. This guy keeps doing it and has won at a really high level. I do think that he will be very highly paid. I have my doubts about whether it's going to be with the 49ers, because I do think that Kyle Shanahan believes it's the system. And I think the way you can tell he believes it's the system is that he went from Jimmy Garoppolo to a 7th round pick. And he's going to feel like, well, I made Brock Purdy, I can make somebody else. But I think Brock Purdy is legitimately excellent. I think he showed me something even in the Super Bowl. Like, I think he's a cut well below the top 4 guys in the league. Like, this is the line below which you would say, I think this guy can win a Super Bowl regardless of the hand that he's dealt. Like, this is where you got to be in the right situation. You got to have the right roster. You got to have the right talent around you to make it shake. But I think Purdy's at the top of that list. And I can't believe it either. Like, I really can't believe I've ranked him this high. And you might ask me in November, I might have a different answer. But I'm the high man on Brock Purdy.
Like the underlying metrics, if you will, some of the advanced, EPA, completion percentage over expectation, if you get really into that stuff. I mean, Brock Purdy blew the rest of the NFL out of the water. And frankly, had a really good, if you wanted to base it on those numbers and team success, had a better case for MVP last year than I think a lot of people gave him credit for. The reason I was lower on Purdy, and I know maybe I was too harsh on him, putting him right in the middle of the league. I think in terms of throwing ability, I hope this makes sense. I think the guys that I have ahead of him can just do stuff more. Yesterday, we were talking about, we saw the tweet in reaction to how Team USA beat Serbia yesterday. And in the fourth quarter, essentially, Steph, LeBron, KD walked on the floor, and they played do his ass basketball the whole day, right, and just said, "We're
expose him."
Yeah, we're going NBA street, and we're gonna win.
Yeah,
and
one-on-one, go make a play.
I think the guys I have in this next group are more likely to. It's like, hey, dude, nothing's working. Go figure it out. I think these guys are more likely to figure it out just based on physical gifts than Brock Purdy is.
I think that's fair. I think that Purdy's ability to do that, though, is a little bit underrated.
I agree. Like, I think Purdy's good. I don't think that people are like, oh, he's nothing more than Ayuk and Debo and Kittle. No, man, like, he's better than that.
That's what I thought going into last season. Maybe I'm overcorrecting for my preconceived bias that this guy was just a product of his system.
Sure.
And then he went and balled the hell out last year.
As for Herbert, I don't think any player in the league at any position has a greater disparity between, like, I hate to be the watch the games guy. I really do, because it's a really jerk thing to say most of the time. But, like, man, if you watch Justin Herbert play, like, how is this dude not top 3 in MVP voting every year?
Exactly.
Like, it's what he can do, the strength, the touch.
Mm-hmm.
He's got everything. And his team sucks. And part of it has to fall on him, because you are the highest paid. You are the face of the team. You're a face of the league kind of guy. I get that.
He's in commercials.
But, like, I watched him and the Chargers play Green Bay last year. The Chargers, by all, I watched every single snap of the game, and I have multiple times. They should have won that game by 21 points. They were beating that ass all game. Quentin Johnston is dropping balls that hit him in the numbers. Josh Palmer, I think, had a ball hit him in the face mask. Like, help this. I don't even want you to win, but help this man. And go back to that Raider game, his first season as a starter. It's hard to explain because you have to win. If you're a quarterback, you have to win to be considered in this group. But every time I watch him, I go, God, how are they not winning? How do they not figure this out? So it was tough for me with Herbert, but I had to slot him in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Number 6. Spencer, who's your number 6 ranked quarterback in the NFL?
It's Matt Stafford.
Spicy.
Brendan.
But I like it. Okay. I've got Jordan Love here. I think it is important for me to say I'm going to leap ahead too. I have Stroud right behind him. I have Love 6, Stroud 7.
Okay. We'll jump ahead. I have Stroud 6 and Love 7.
Okay. There's been a lot of talk.
Hard to separate the two.
The two teams are so similar.
They are.
They are really similar in the way they've been built, the youth of the coaching staffs, all of that. The reason I went with Love, and I was kind of amazed to even put all this together. I got to pull up. I have a whole note here. Last year, Jordan Love ranked higher than CJ Stroud in yards, touchdowns, expected points added, success rate, completion percentage over expected, QBR, fourth quarter comebacks, more big time throws per PFF, fewer turnover worthy plays per PFF. And I'm going to be honest with you, I could not believe that. Like that, Stroud ended up fewer actual interceptions and a higher passer rating, but I really couldn't believe that, and I was so floored. I was like, oh, I got to put J Love ahead.
All right, Matthew Stafford, number 6, Spencer. Why?
He's won a Super Bowl, one. There's a few other guys on this list that have won a Super Bowl, but not so recently, I guess.
So Russell Wilson in the top 10, then we can.
No. I think
so some recency there. Okay.
Okay.
And he's resurrected his career with the Rams. He was a nobody, I feel like, in Detroit. Like when he plays in LA, he doesn't have to be the guy. When he was in Detroit and he didn't have Megatron, he had to be the guy. Right?
Okay.
So I think he's bound for a good season this year.
I think he's old as hell, and I have concerns about how good he's going to be moving forward. I felt like last year, I mean, he was in my top 15 comfortably, but like, does he have another year like that in? Because we thought I think there were some people that thought, and I was one of them, going into 2023, that he was washed after he played just 9 games in 2022 and came off a pretty significant injury in the process.
Yeah.
But he was great last year. He was genuinely. He was not near as good as he was in 2021, though. And we'll see what he is as a 36-year-old.
Yeah. I'll give you my Stafford thoughts in a minute.
Okay. Number 7. So you have
number
CJ
7 for me. I have Stroud,
and I have Jordan Love, and
I have Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. Okay. So that's the landing spot for Jordan Love. It's right around here, 6-7. Again, a guy who going into last year, is he even top 20? We just had so many questions.
God, no, absolutely not.
And he answered every single one of those questions.
Still kind of hard for me to believe, to be honest with you, but he did. All right, let's jump to 8 then, because I have Stafford at 8.
Okay, you got Stafford at 8.
Which, as a lifelong Matthew Stafford hater, frat Stafford, stat Padford, I've never been able to stand the guy. But, oh, my God, he was so good for that team this year. And I think the way the Rams have built their team for this year, I think he is set up to be extremely successful. The caveat is that he's got to be healthy. And if you say I cannot rank him in the top 10 because I'm worried about that, I really can't argue it. Because 2 seasons ago, I thought his career was over. I told you last offseason I thought his career was effectively over. Yeah. So I may be doing the overcorrecting here. But with the receivers they've got, the way they've built their line, they're going to go so heavy on the play action game this year in LA. I'm all in on that offense. And I feel like by default, I kind of have to be on Stafford.
Spencer, who's your number 8?
CJ.
You have CJ Stroud.
Makes sense.
At number 8. I am the high man on Jalen Hurts. This is where he comes in for me.
Ooh.
Hurts was really good 2 years ago and got him to a Super Bowl. And last year, a little too profligate with the football.
Dude,
but I just don't like the Eagles' direction right now.
I don't either, but I don't think that's a Jalen Hurts problem. I think that's a Nick Sirianni
problem.
Yeah.
His Super Bowl performance was so good.
Dude, he was so good. Unbelievable. With a bum shoulder. He was not good in the playoff run. He had that shoulder issue. I remember going into that game thinking, like, I don't know if the Eagles are going to get the best version of Jalen Hurts. And if they don't, they got no shot in this game.
Yep.
They got the best version ever of Jalen Hurts.
Probably the best game, even with that fumble return for a touchdown, probably the best game he's ever played.
He was better in that game against the Chiefs than either of the other losing quarterbacks in the Chiefs Super Bowls, Garoppolo and Purdy.
Correct.
He's had the best performance in a losing effort against the Chiefs in a Super Bowl in this recent memory.
Yep.
A menace in short yardage. I think he still will be. I think they'll still be able to utilize the quarterback sneak to great effect, and he's going to score his 10, 15 touchdowns on the ground. As a dual threat guy, I think he bounces back this year, and if he doesn't, they'll fire Sirianni and find somebody who will make it work with him.
Yeah.
I think he's that good. Number 9 is where I have Trevor Lawrence. What about you, Brendan?
I went with veteran Trevor Lawrence. I have Dak Prescott.
Okay.
And he's going to put up great numbers. Their offense is they have nobody to catch the ball other than CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know how good he'll look this year. That's good.
CeeDee Lamb ever going to play?
Well, yeah, that's a big question.
It's a great question. Spencer, I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish
I
your
was going to say, he's a hell of a player. He's never going to win anything. He's never won anything, but I'll put Dak there. He's good. He's very good.
And for you, Spencer?
That's where I have Hurts.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm low on Hurts then. Okay, I had him at 12.
So Lawrence, Prescott, and Hurts there. Yeah, for me, Trevor Lawrence, top 10 guy. I think he's been a little bit let down by some of the lack of creativity in his offense and some of the playmaking that has not been made around him. I think he's a guy you put him, like, I feel like if you rank these guys, you put them on just an average team, like a C+ football team across the board. These are guys ranked in order of how much I think they could potentially elevate them with their playmaking ability. So that's why I have Lawrence number 9. That's why I have Justin Herbert number 10.
I have Dak Prescott number 10.
Where did you guys? I have Rodgers. Where did you guys put Rodgers? Just out of curiosity.
At 13, because we talked about this yesterday.
Right,
I just don't know where he is.
And he was 16 for me. He was outside my top 15. He hasn't played good football in 3 years.
No, I think he was not his normal standard in 22. I don't think he was as terrible as some people make him out to be, but he wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Last year, he obviously didn't play. This is just a bet on he's going to be like hungry, I guess. Yeah. And I think Garrett Wilson's really going to help because I think Garrett Wilson's a stud.
Yeah, he's awesome. Top 10.
And they got a good run game too, which should help.
Yeah. Also, he is in his 40s. He is coming off of an Achilles injury, and he might decide to run for president.
If you told me that by year, like right now, you said actually he is going to finish this year 23rd in EPA or whatever, I say no, I can totally see it. I totally see it. I'm banking on. I've watched a lot of the guy.
No,
that's what I'm banking on.
The resumes. But this is the thing with old quarterbacks, though. Usually, when it goes fast. Like with Peyton Manning, it was gone. It was there one day, and then it was gone.
We talked about
Drew Brees, same thing.
Well, the funny thing about Brees, though, they made it work with him. Whereas, Manning, you couldn't make it work. He couldn't throw. At least with Brees, he still had the accuracy.
Right.
But Manning, as much as we've made fun of him, that's kind of an anomaly with old quarterbacks when they drop off and lose the arm.
And that's what I'm worried will happen to Rodgers is when it goes, it just goes.
Totally get it.
So those are our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. What do you guys think? Text us 785-272-9429. It's the Top City Mail Supply text line. You can also comment in the YouTube live chat as well. We're going to take a break, come back with What is Wrong With You? Crown a weekly champion here in the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 WIBW. to crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 news stories today going up against yesterday's winner.
Did someone just splash water in here?
No.
I just got splashed with water like all over the place.
Yeah, maybe delayed. I did set my water cup down.
Okay.
Yeah,
right as we turned the mics on, I was like, "Oh, what happened?"
Might have been
you got shocked or something.
It might have been the straw. Apologies.
No,
Apologies
you're fine.
for that.
Whoa.
That's my bad, man. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Anyway, What Is Wrong With You champion, me and my straw, my Tervis tumbler. Anyhow, current What Is Wrong With You champion is actually the bag of drugs. The woman who was found with a lot of drugs on her in a bag that was labeled bag of drugs. Made it very easy for the police to find it. Generally, you do not want to make the police's job easier if you are in the middle of doing a crime, as this woman was. Because, again, she had a lot of illegal drugs. Anyway, bag of drugs is our current weekly champion. 2 news stories today. Spencer, lead us off.
All right, we're going to go to St. Petersburg, Florida. A Florida man was taken to jail after he threw spaghetti sauce at his mother during an argument at their home over the weekend, according to an arrest affidavit.
Mamma mia.
Anthony Fiacco, 41, was arrested by St. Petersburg police on charges of battery and resisting an officer without violence.
I threw the spaghetti sauce at my mama. I'm Anthony Fiacco.
On Sunday, shortly after
We're gonna get in trouble here.
8 p.m., officers were called to a St. Petersburg home.
Boy, he looks like an Anthony Fiacco.
After an argument turned physical, Fiacco doused his mother with spaghetti sauce, which was found in her hair, police said. Fiacco initially ran from the scene, but later returned home and was found hiding in the backyard bushes. An officer yelled to him, "Police, show me your hands." And Fiacco tried to run off again, but was caught and taken into custody. Officials said he was booked into Pinellas County Jail and released the next day.
I mean, you're never getting that sauce out of whatever fabric it hits.
Yeah,
that's staying forever.
I threw my mama's sauce. It's my mama's recipe. Comes from the old country. Does not deserve a rim shot.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to watch a Tommy DeVito play the football.
From the 785 on the Top City Metal Supply text line, drama mia. All right, for my story, we're going to stay in the state of Florida, where a 19-year-old woman is facing multiple felony charges after she allegedly hospitalized her former boyfriend's new girlfriend, showing up at the boyfriend's home unannounced and stabbing the victim in the chest.
Wow.
Emily Morales was taken into custody last week and charged with a count of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and a count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. According to a release from the Hernando County Sheriff's Office, deputies and emergency personnel at 9 p.m. responded to a call on the final day of July in the 10,000 block of Madera Street in Spring Hill in reference to a stabbing. The home is about 80 miles west of Orlando. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders located a 22-year-old female bleeding from what appeared to be a stab wound. Medics immediately transported the victim to Bayonet Point Hospital. Authorities said she was in critical condition with 2 stab wounds and had to go emergency surgery.
Ooh.
Police then located the victim's 26-year-old boyfriend, who explained he and the victim were in a relationship and the two were hanging out in the kitchen at his mother's home, which is also his home, when he heard a loud knock on the front door. He looked through the frosted glass and saw the silhouette of his ex-girlfriend, Morales. The boyfriend advised that he went to address his mother, who he knew would be upset with the presence of Morales, while the victim simultaneously answered the door. The boyfriend advised he heard a screaming and a commotion, and then heard the victim say, quote, "This bleeping dumb bleep stabbed me."
Oh, jeez.
After the alleged surprise knife attack, Morales attempted to stab the boyfriend before running away on foot. The attack was captured on doorbell surveillance video, although it is not particularly clear. They are able to see a commotion, and then it skips forward to the victim collapsing in the living room, bleeding from her chest. Morales is also appearing to hold a knife in the footage. The boyfriend's mother was in her bedroom when her son approached her and told her not to worry because he had the situation under control.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Very under control.
She then heard the victim yelling for her and yelling that, quote, "She stabbed me." When the mother went to see what was going on, she saw Morales in the doorway yelling and acting irrational. So the reason that this all happened, she said she wanted to go get closure after an earlier fight between the two of them.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. She also claimed DV, obviously not good, just a claim, who knows, but yeah, it's all bad. You can't stab someone, though.
No.
Not twice in the chest, especially.
No. Who wins today?
The Fiacco fiasco.
Good one from
shout out to Paul.
Paul in the YouTube live chat.
That's a good one. Yeah, we'll roll with that.
Mama didn't use enough for garlic in the sauce. I had to throw it at her.
Does that beat
The bag of
drugs?
No.
Bag of drugs is really punchy and also will keep me from ever doing that Italian accent on the show again.
All right. That's the winner.
Use a lean of beef, Mama.
Please go to commercial break.
Yes.
The Olympic Roundup is next on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. .446 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer, Trenton. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, Mitch Holthus delivers a training camp report from 30,000 feet in the air. Well, no, he just sent us something before he left with the team to Jacksonville today. We'll get Mitch's training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azure Credit Union. We'll also preview tonight's Royals-Cardinals tilt as they get set to start a 2-game series. Again, pregame at 6:30, first pitch at 7:10 from Kauffman Stadium. Tonight, we'll have our sports headlines in the 5 o'clock hour as well. But now it's time for our penultimate Olympic Roundup. We will do one on Monday with the games having concluded on Sunday. We'll do one big recap of everything that happened over the weekend on Monday's show, and that'll be it for the Olympic Roundup. I can't believe they're almost over.
It's going by so quickly.
What else am I going to watch all day?
What, 2+ weeks, though?
That's the typical length of an Olympiad, yes.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago yesterday, I think, is when it started. Yeah. No, I'm going to miss it. I love the Olympics, man.
You know who's not going to miss it? My wife.
Really?
She told me today, how is there sports on it every hour now? Why are you watching, water polo? Why are you not watching water polo?
No, my wife also, she's just Olympics are just nothing to her. She's been very sweet about it and has watched with me, but like they do nothing for her. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I need the remote because there's archery on right now. And then we got to go back because we got to watch some badminton. Then we got track. I got to watch every single second of it.
I will be honest. This is the first time today where I spent more than just a couple minutes around the office actually watching an Olympic event. And that's because somebody that I went to high school with is an Olympian and raced today. Besides that, I have not really been tuned in. But also part of that was I was traveling during the opening ceremonies and I was all up that whole weekend. So I missed the first weekend. So I didn't really get into the wave. If I had been here, I probably would have gotten into it.
Without any further ado, it's time for the Olympic Roundup.
The Olympic Roundup. Olympic Roundup. On 580 Sports Talk. Olympic Roundup.
What we're really going to miss is the theme
We only
song.
have to hear this one more time.
Have to or get to, Spencer?
Well, I should some warnings. I should never put my headphones on right when that's about to start because it blew my ears out.
You got a volume dial right there, man. That sounds like a
Yeah,
skill
but
issue.
everything else is normal, and then you get to that, and it's like,
Well, it's the volume it deserves. Anyway, the Olympic Roundup. Let's start with the Jayhawks, shall we? Bryce Hoppel, clear into the final of the 800-meter run. Runs tomorrow at 12:25 for the gold. And he's a real medal threat in this race.
Yeah, he is.
He's run two really good. He ran a good qualifying heat. He ran a really good semifinal. He is a legit medal threat. 12:25 Central Time tomorrow is when the final of the men's 800 will be run. Also in track today, the 4x100 meter relays were held. The women took home gold.
Sha'Carri Richardson. Wow. Gabby Thomas ran a really good third leg. Sha'Carri Richardson, crazy as the anchor. Oh, my goodness.
Blew everybody away on that final 100 meters and delivered gold. Her first gold medal.
They did not do a great job with some of the baton passes. It was functional, but not smooth, which required Sha'Carri Richardson to have a great final leg. Still better than the men.
Incredibly, it has now been 24 years since the American men have medaled in the 4x100. They did not medal today. They finished seventh. They screwed up the first baton pass.
They ran into each other.
Yes, because the second runner didn't run in the qualifying heat when the United States had the best overall time. It was Kenny Bednarik, who was running the 200 on the same day and won his silver medal. They sub him in. They mess up the mojo. They get the baton pass wrong. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. 24 years. We're the best sprinting nation in the world, and we can't win a medal in the 4x100. Starting to think the race might be cursed, at least for the Americans.
Might be.
Canada, your gold medalist
You absolutely cursed.
in the men's 400. For Brendan, a volleyball update, a happy volleyball update, happy conclusion for the men.
Yeah, the U.S. indoor men, they finished with a bronze medal. They swept Italy today. They actually had to go to win by 2 in all 3 sets, but they swept them. That's all that matters. Really fun end to the third set as well. That's cool. That's back-to-back medals. It's the first time they've medaled in a couple Olympics. So really good bounce back for the men. Bummer they couldn't contend for gold, but I'll live with a medal. I can live with that. Sunday morning, the women take the floor, 6 a.m. Be up early. If you're a coffee drinker, make sure you have a pot brewed right away because it's going to be an early one. 6 a.m. Sunday, women's volleyball, gold medal game, U.S. also versus Italy. Italy has only dropped 1 set all tournament so far.
I'm not going to do the accent. I want to do the accent so bad. I'm not going to do the accent.
do it.
Men's water polo lost their semifinal match today to Serbia.
Embarrassing.
They will play for a bronze medal. Women's basketball rolled over Australia. They are into the gold medal game. Like the men, they will play France for Olympic gold this weekend.
Also today, Olivia Reeves, who is a weightlifter, she won gold for the U.S. women in the 71 kilogram
Yeah.
discipline.
71 kilogram weight class or however they
Yes.
break it up.
She set an Olympic record in
Snatch.
Yes.
And after someone from Colombia just said it, like the lift before.
I have never watched as much weightlifting. Like, even when I had to weightlift in gym class, I never watched as much weightlifting as I did today, hoping that Olivia Reeves was going to win gold. And she did, and that was awesome.
First gold medal since 2000 for the Americans in weightlifting.
Spencer, did your classmate medal?
No, she finished 8th.
Who was
She
it?
was Weenie Colati.
And who was she competing for?
The U.S.
Okay, and what event?
The women's
Oh,
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Do you know how far in customary units 10,000 kilometers is?
No.
Or is it meters or kilometers?
It's
Meters.
It's
It's
meters.
Yeah. 6.2 miles.
So it was about 30 minutes when we timed it. It was 31 was the top time.
There you go. Boom. I was spot on about that. Also, we should note one other gold medal today, Rai Benjamin for
Yes.
the U.S. in was that the 400 hurdles?
Yes, it was the 400 hurdles.
Yes, he came away with the victory in that one. He was cruising past the field.
So the United States and China each with 33 gold medals. United States with 111 total medals, outpacing China, who has 83. One last thing to get to. We have to talk about the breaking. Breakdancing made its debut as an Olympic sport. this morning.
Incredible format. I didn't know they were going to be battling each other.
Yes, there was like rap battling,
It's like 8
the
Mile.
whole thing. There is some viral footage going around social media of Ray Gunn, the 36-year-old woman who was the breakdancer for Australia, who has a PhD in cultural studies and is an academic expert in breaking, which I was not sure that was a thing you could be an academic expert in, but she's a university lecturer on the subject. She competed in 6 rounds against 3 different competitors and lost every single one of them unanimously.
Okay.
Her moves look like if you asked one of the 3 of us to come up with a breaking routine for the Olympics.
Yeah, knowing what her profession is, if that tweet that read Ruth Conda forever was a breakdance move, it would be this woman. That's a super niche thing to say, but if you know, you know. Yeah, I mean, she looks horrible.
Somebody said she looked like when every toddler says, hey, watch this. It's what happens every time your 4-year-old says, hey, watch me.
No,
Daddy, watch
for real.
me.
Oh
That's
my
very
God,
true.
This is so weird.
I
How is
implore
this an
you all.
Olympic
I
sport?
implore you all to watch Ray Gunn's highlights from the Australian women's breakdancer from the Olympics today. The men are tomorrow. I'll be fascinated to see that legitimately. That's your Olympic roundup. We got one more hour of the show coming up. Mitch Holthus, the Royals preview, and some sports headlines from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. did it. Final hour of the day, final hour of the week here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in video on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can catch us on Facebook too, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, and producer-engineer Trenton Kraxner with you for one more hour, and then we'll have a little overtime, taking you up to 6:30 for Royals baseball. We'll hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. Game 1 of 2 between the Royals and the Cardinals. Two teams split earlier this year. God, it was so long ago. I forgot when they played.
It wasn't that long ago.
It was when I went to Canada
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
Wednesday.
that long
Yeah,
ago.
mid-July.
Like, yeah, it was right before they went to
July
Boston.
10th, and they ended up playing a doubleheader. That's why that's why it feels like such a blip, because they got rained out the first night.
Yeah.
They ended up playing 2 games in one day
Yeah.
on that Wednesday. And no, it was not a split. Royals won both games.
Back-to-back come from behind wins those days.
And 2 saves for James MacArthur.
Yeah. They also gave up a home run to the washed Paul Goldschmidt in one of those games. But yeah, that was sandwiched right between the Rockies disaster and then the Red Sox series before the All-Star break.
That's right. It was right before the All-Star break. So Royals need just one of these next 2 to win the season series in the I-70 rivalry. Tonight's starting pitchers, Michael Lorenzen for the Royals, making his home debut as a Royal, his second start with the club since being acquired at the trade deadline. Miles Michaelis on the mound for St. Louis. The Cardinals are bad. I know you look at the standings and you see 59 and 57. Their run differential this year is, let me do the back of the napkin math. They have allowed 46 more runs than they have scored. By Pythagorean win-loss, they would be 10 under 500 if they played to their run differential. And then instead they are 2 over 500. This is what Cardinals Devil Magic looks like in 2024. Like, not an actually good team performing great, a bummy team performing barely above average. This is a bad team. Like,
Yes, they are.
it just is. Like
Yeah.
This is a bad Cardinals team, and it would be embarrassing for the National League to let this team into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like,
They literally they have a bunch of washed guys. Like, they're a bunch of old dudes that are out of their prime.
they do. Like, this team in 2020 would have been sick. 2019 pennant winners probably.
Yeah.
Well, they have a 246 team batting average as a team, but they have 118 home runs, which is just 8 less than the Royals. I feel like they just hit they hit enough home runs to like carry them.
They're 11th in the National League in home runs, 13th in runs scored, 10th in earned run average, 10th in runs allowed. Like, yeah, it's just kind of a not very good baseball team.
No, unpleasant to watch. Not actually good.
But again, man, you put this team back in a time machine to 2017. You got Brandon Crawford and Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. Ooh, they'd be cooking. They would be cooking. The 2024 Cardinals are what happens when you build a team in 2024 to win the 2018 National League Central.
Disgusting.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about how
That's the only word I have for that.
how unpleasant the Cardinals are a little bit later on this hour. We'll also hear from the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union. But first, let's get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines as we start this final hour of the show today. We began with the breaking news from a couple of hours ago that there may be a new twist in the Brandon Ayuk saga in San Francisco. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network reporting that after months of speculation, sporadic negotiations, and recent trade talks, the 49ers are now pushing to get a deal done that keeps Ayuk in San Francisco for the long term. Nothing is done, tweets Pelissero, but finally, things are moving, and a return to San Francisco appears increasingly possible. Remember, earlier this week, it felt like it was all but done that Ayuk would be sent to Pittsburgh in a trade, but those talks have apparently cooled, and now the 49ers have, I guess, come to their senses and decided maybe we'd like to keep the good player and try to win a Super Bowl this year instead of making our roster worse for no real good reason.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this story. It felt like it's almost a done deal to Pittsburgh. It felt like Cleveland or New England was going to get him at some point. Now it's trending the other way. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know how much of this is actual negotiation and how much of it is just trying to posture through the media. I will just assume he's a 49er until he's not.
Yeah.
So a Instagram account, the SF Niners, posted a graphic with a picture of Ayuk and Pelissero's tweet. That got a comment from Instagram user Brandon Ayuk, who wrote, Brad, Niners be in the media every day, LOL. It's two options out there. Pick one and stop dropping reports. Simple. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
No.
That
We know Brendan Ayuk off social media though. Like,
yeah.
he's done a bunch this summer on social media, including drop Commanders practice film. Did you guys see that?
I did see that. Yeah, because he wanted to go play with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that Brandon Ayuk has been in the league long enough to be getting a second contract? Jaden Daniels is a rookie, and they played together in college. That is so wild. Yeah, I'm just going to assume that he stays in San Francisco, but nothing would surprise me at this point.
Jason in the YouTube live chat asks, it seems like he wants to be traded. Is it all about the money or is it more issues inside? It is entirely about the money.
I don't know if it's about the money though, because maybe with the San Francisco giving him the money, he was offered a trade to the Patriots with a new contract that would make him get $28.5 a year.
I saw $28.5 from multiple places. I even saw one that said they would have figured out a way to get him incentives up to 32.
But he turned it down because he
Well, you're gonna
didn't
have to
want to deal with the quarterback.
Yeah, he
situation.
says you're going to have to pay me more than that to catch passes from Drake May. You're going to pay me more than that to go live in New England.
I ain't going to play in Boston. He's a really good player. San Francisco is going to have to make a decision on its players at some point. Like, you cannot keep all of these guys long term. That's just not how it works. But we'll see. Because if you keep Ayuk long term, that probably means you can't keep someone else.
Right.
Is that worth it?
Is that
maybe?
Is that Brock Purdy? You can't keep long term.
It possibly could be. My first headline today is going to take us to college basketball. Do you guys remember Fire Fest?
Yeah.
Didn't it just come up on the show the other day?
Just the other day. The music festival that made this huge promise. It was going to be in the Bahamas.
It was going to be on who's the drug guy, Pablo Escobar's island.
Yes, Pablo Escobar's island. Ja Rule was involved.
Blink 182 was going to perform. You were going to have like luxury huts to stay in.
They got like Kim Kardashian to post photos.
Yep.
Every model promoted it. Every famous person was promoting it as the place to be.
Emily Ratajkowski was like in the promo video for it. Yeah, all these supermodels. And it turned out they were going to try to make people sleep in FEMA tents, and none of the acts were actually coming.
The luxury huts were FEMA tents.
Yeah. If you've never seen the documentary, there's one on Netflix and there's one on Hulu. They're two different movies. Watch them both. They are unbelievable and so funny.
Did you know they're trying to make Billy McFarland says he plans on making a Firefest 2 at some point?
I did see that. And what I would say to anyone who wants to go, don't. This guy has been caught in the midst of multiple scams. Do not do it. Anyway, we have a college basketball Fire Fest for you. So you know, every 4 years, a Division I team is allowed to take an international trip. KU went to the Bahamas last year.
Yeah.
And K-State went to Israel and the Middle East. Well, George Mason was supposed to go to the Bahamas this year for a multi-game tour. But unlike KU or K-State, they did not put together the travel and scheduling plans in-house. They actually contracted through a third-party group, the VII group. I don't know what that stands for. VII.
7.
Oh, is it 7?
I think so.
Okay, the 7 group to set all of this up. So George Mason flew down there. They're like, okay, we got games scheduled. We got hotels.
Apparently, they never flew down there.
Okay,
they were meeting as a team, but never went to the airport.
So they never got there. But you know who did get there? Boosters.
Yep.
Fans, team supporters. Only to find out today, well, this actually all unfolded yesterday, became public today, that the 7 group had to cancel George Mason University's men's basketball foreign tour to the Bahamas. This unforeseen outcome is not only a profound disappointment to all involved, but a failure that we at the 7 group take full accountability for. Want to know what they're taking full accountability for? Nothing was ever booked. They never put together an actual booked guaranteed schedule. They did not have travel plans finalized. They did not have hotel rooms finalized. It was all a scam. And now George Mason is out, according to known college hoops insider Trilly Donovan on Twitter. They're at $170,000 that they paid for this. Never booked. I don't even know what I would do.
Can they at least go down there and practice?
No, they don't have
they can't
space
go
for
down there.
anything.
Yeah. But that's got to hurt, especially a program like George Mason.
Yeah,
Right.
like that's there are other programs that could absorb $170,000 loss.
Mm-hmm.
They get a booster to write them a check and they cover it. But
Basketball is the moneymaker at George Mason.
Yeah, and
They
it's
don't
not
have
like
football.
it's not like they're even Villanova or
Yeah.
anything, right? Like they're a small major. Yeah, crazy story that they just didn't book it. Scammed them out of $170K.
wild.
Truly crazy.
Spencer, what's your first headline?
My first headline comes from actually a flight last night. As the Carolina Panthers were trying to come back from their loss last night to the Patriots, 17-3, they lost. Well, their Delta flight carrying them ran off the taxiway at Charlotte Douglas Airport at around 2:35 this morning. No one was hurt, but adding insult to injury. Not actual injury, but
One of the players, I forget who, tweeted like footage of it and just tweeted vouchers ?
Jeez.
The least Delta can do, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, this is terrifying. Things that happen in a plane are so scary. Like you truly have no control at all.
No.
That I would be freaking
Well,
out.
especially
is-
because like you're going down, and people have probably have woken up by then if they were sleeping, and you're like, "Are we stopping? Are we stop? What?
When do we
What?
stop?
We're not. Ah!"
I'd be freaking out,
Yeah,
man. I
me
would be
too.
losing it.
Yeah, not pleasant. Like it's there's documented history, recent history, sadly, of like major air disasters involving professional sports teams, and it's fairly remarkable that the last one, that there hasn't been one since in the United States. Gosh, you have to go back to the 70s. Obviously, Marshall football, the most famous of those stories. Wichita State football had a similar tragedy. Evansville men's basketball, all very similar. But
Oklahoma State women's
Oklahoma State men.
Yeah, excuse me.
Well, yeah. Well, their women's coach was also killed in a plane crash,
Yes,
but
yes.
that was a separate deal. That was on a
Yes.
recruiting trip. Yeah, you had the Oklahoma State men's basketball program. That would have been, gosh, mid 90s, maybe early 2000s. Been out to the memorial. I've seen that memorial. That's out near Strasburg, Colorado. It's really amazing that it hasn't happened more often, and
Thankfully,
thank God it hasn't. Like, there's contingencies. Like, you go and read like league handbooks. There's contingencies for like what would happen.
Yeah, the NFL has a whole section of rule. Like, they have a disaster draft plan in case the team all died in a horrible accident.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy to think about.
I think every major league has one of
I'm
those.
sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the story about George Mason?
Why?
Apparently, this group literally only does international foreign tours. That is the only thing they do.
Well, and apparently they also scam.
Like, that is the biggest thing they do, and then they host some Thanksgiving classic thing.
I'm very good at it.
No, but like it's literally on their website. If you go to their website, it has events, become a sponsor, play for Orange, foreign tours. Like, foreign tours is a legit like top 4 thing on their website.
That's really funny.
All right. We can do one more headline here, and it's going to be the ongoing CeeDee Lamb saga in Dallas as he continues to hold out.
This is worse than the situation in San Francisco.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Easily.
By far, because you actually have the general manager, Jerry Jones,
/ owner / everything.
saying that there is no, quote, sense of urgency about getting a contract extension done for Lamb, who's entering the final year of his contract, which is scheduled to pay him just shy of $18 million per year. When he was asked whether he can envision the season opener coming and Lamb not being ready to go, Jerry Jones said, "Well, I don't know about that, but I know that we're getting great work, making real progress, and I don't think losing a step at where we're at now." CeeDee Lamb, Twitter user CeeDee Lamb, had a comment on this on Twitter, quote, "LOL," end quote. Dak Prescott also asked yesterday, before he was asked, beat everybody to the punch by saying he has a sense of urgency. He wanted to make it very clear that his sense of urgency is very high to get his best receiver and a top 5 receiver in the game back in the building. But if Jerry Jones were trying to lose his team games and field a demonstrably worse team, if they were tanking, like NFL teams don't really tank. Like it's not really a thing that happens in the NFL. You might see one team, you might see one team a year do it. That was a rhyme. I mean, it wasn't anybody like actually.
Well, the Dolphins kind of tried.
Yeah.
But to your point, like tank for Tua, that was the Dolphin, and they didn't even wait. That didn't even work. No. That's the thing about the NFL. It doesn't work.
Right.
Because the Dolphins picked 5th. They tried to lose and only had the 5th worst record in the league.
Yes, like we all know about like sucks for luck.
They did get to it.
But it's different. It's different. Like it's not like basketball tanking or baseball tanking where you're just like trade off every single one of your good players.
You strip it down to the studs.
Yeah,
right.
That's not the kind of tanking you see in the NFL.
Right. Absolutely.
If the Cowboys were tanking, what would Jerry Jones be doing differently? How would they be having a different offseason than the one that they're having and lead up to this season than the one that they're having?
Trade Dak. That's the only thing. They would have just traded Dak.
Yeah.
Because if Lamb is upset or, even if he still stays on the team, he's a great player, but even a great wide receiver is not going to like win you 8 games on his own. That's not really how it works in football or in the NFL. So no, that's the only other thing they would have done. Instead, they've tried to piss off Dak Prescott and not pay him either. You
have a lame duck quarterback and he won't pay his number 1 target.
They don't have, they didn't do enough, I think, defensively to replace, all that they lost. Can you name a receiver on the Cowboys other than CeeDee Lamb?
T.Y. Hilton still on the team?
No, I do not believe T.Y. Hilton is still around.
Golden Richards.
Here is who is currently listed on the 2 deep for the Cowboys outside of CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert.
A very real guy, Jalen Tolbert.
Kavontae Turpin, who is only good at returning punts.
Yeah, not anybody you want to throw the ball to.
Jalen Brooks, fake, not real. And Jalen Cropper. More like Crapper. No, these aren't real people. Those are their wide receivers. They have nobody.
They also brought Ezekiel Elliott back.
Yeah, and they brought back Zeke, who was terrible in New England last year.
And Deuce Bond's buried on their depth chart.
He's buried there. It's just, dude, it's bleak. And I, more and more this offseason, have leaned into the belief that Jerry Jones does not care about winning. I know it's he's old. He's really old. He probably wants to win a championship before he's dead.
I think he's becoming senile. If you watch that video,
No, I think this is intentional. I think he is very intentional because you know what doesn't get people talking? 10-7. No one, who cares about 10-7?
Mid.
You know what people care about? Dallas Cowboys first round quarterback. That's what people care about. That's going to get headlines. That's going to get attention.
Jerry Jones fires coach, entertains idea of hiring Bill Belichick. Like that gets the people going.
That's already been out there too.
Right. I'm not even trying to do the hot take thing here. I genuinely believe Jerry Jones cares more about being on ESPN than he does about winning.
In the headlines.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
That's why he does a radio show every week during the season.
Can you imagine if Clark Hunt did a radio show every? Clark Hunt has built a dynasty. I don't like listening to Clark Hunt for like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
once a year.
I can't recall a single thing that Clark Hunt has ever said. Not one thing.
We are very happy Andy is our head coach during his one preseason media availability every year.
Counterpoint from the Top City Mails
Thanks to everybody for helping us business wise.
Right.
From the 620 on the Top City Mails Fly text line, Cowboys been tanking for 25 years.
And they feel like a team that has been about being in the headlines as opposed to trying to win. And to a degree that I don't think any other team in the NFL has.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Pretty gross what's happening there. And also, if you are so inclined to hate the Cowboys, as so many of us are,
yes,
it's also very, very funny.
It is.
Real quick, I mentioned the ESPN analytics earlier, their receiver metrics. They give you a score based on how you get open, how you catch the ball, and how good you are with yards after the catch. Over the last 3 years, CeeDee Lamb from last season tied for the 5th best score in the NFL out of 540 individual seasons.
Yeah, he is awesome.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's on that tier for me with Jefferson and Chase and Hill.
If I may bring it full circle, by the way, you know who number 1 in the last 3 years is? 2023 Brandon Ayuk. He's that dude, guys. I'm telling you.
That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, we'll hear from Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for another training camp report as he prepares you for what to look for in preseason game number 1 coming up tomorrow night in Jacksonville. That's coming up from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. .531 on 580 Sports Talk. This is the time of the show when we've been joined throughout Chiefs training camp by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for a training camp report brought to you by Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. Mitch Holthus is unable to join us live today on account of being in an airplane on his way to Jacksonville, getting set for the preseason opener tomorrow night against the Jaguars. But before he took off, he was kind enough to check in with his preseason Game 1 checklist. So without any further ado, here's the voice of the Chiefs.
Okay, all of us have been without football way too long, even though the Chiefs have had the shortest off season in NFL history. But since Super Bowl 58 on February the 11th, we've all been chomping at the bit to get started again, and it starts tomorrow night with preseason game number 1 of 2024 as the Chiefs travel to Jacksonville to meet the Jaguars. As you hear this, I'll be flying with the team to Duval County, but I'll leave you with this checklist for the game. Andy Reid has stated he plans to have the first team play the first quarter, second, third, but we all know with Andy, if he likes what he sees in the first series from the first team, he'll pull them out. But Coach Reed does want to play every healthy human on the Chiefs' 91-man roster for deeper evaluation. Offensively, the microscope is squarely on rookie left tackle Kingsley Suama'atia. The Jags have two of the best rushers in the league in Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. It's going to be a tall task for the lad from BYU. The other position group of close interest, the wide receivers. There's 14 on this roster. Maybe 7 make the team, but number 8, Justin Ross. Number 17, McCole Hardman. 19, Kadarius Toney. 24, Sky Moore. 81, Nico Remigio. All are in a furious chase for 3 slots. Maybe 3 slots. Defensively, all eyes will be on second-year defensive back Shamari Connor from Virginia Tech. Although not a completely apples-to-apples comparison, Connor is slated for a lot of the duties performed in recent years by L'Jarius Sneed, now a Tennessee Titan. It's also a big chance in this game for last year's first-round pick and K-Stater, Felix Anyudike Uzama, to show he is truly improving. He's had a great camp. Now can he have a great game? And finally, you got to pay attention to every kickoff in this game. How will the Chiefs kick, cover, and return with this new rule? I'm headed to Jacksonville. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs.
Thank you very much, Mitch, for checking in with us today. About covered it all, and also introduced us to a new pronunciation of the rookie left tackle's last name. I'll have to double back and check on that. We were told when he was drafted that it was Suama'atia. But look, Mitch is around the team every day. I'm sure Mitch has walked up to the young man and said, "Say your last name for me."
Yes.
And it might have been one thing in the because a lot of times what happens with players who have difficult last names is sometimes the pronunciation will just go around and they won't bother to correct it. They'll be like, "Yeah, it's whatever, it's fine," and then maybe might say something later on. Well, actually, this is how my family's always pronounced.
Oh, you mean like Travis Kelce?
I don't mean exactly like that. That might have been Travis having a little fun with everybody. But so I thought in the BYU game notes we dug up last year that it was Suama'atia.
Yeah, I thought you did that. I remembered you did that, actually.
I certainly tried. I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find them. See if we can go pull some of these out.
Got some 2022 game notes for the bowl game here. Let's see if I can't. Let's see. Suama'atia. Yeah. That's what the BYU game notes say is Suama'atia.
Unless the BYU SID was not on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I trust the SIDs.
I generally do too, but at the same time, I also trust the person if that's how he said his name to Mitch.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Also, he could have changed it.
We haven't seen Chiefs game notes, have we?
No, I did not find any.
So I haven't seen the Chiefs game notes yet.
He also could have changed it. So when I was in college and broadcasting games, I was told by an SID who was told by this women's basketball player that her name was this way. We were the only entity that broadcasted women's basketball, so her family listened. She came up to me one day after a game and said, "Hey, my parents are listening. By the way, my last name is blank." Said this way. It was St. Jean. She said it was Saint Jean. She wanted the A pronounced. So it could be different. Like it.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be like you want to say it one way, but then the family way is a different way.
No, that's totally fair.
So yeah, we'll have to learn. We'll learn as we go. We've done the best with the information that we've had,
yes.
And
we'll see what on the TV broadcast what Ari Temkin says.
Yeah,
because we know what Mitch says.
Yes, now we know how Mitch about covered everything, didn't he? About everything about what we'll be looking for on Saturday night. Again, if you want to hear the call, if you want to hear Mitch Holthus broadcast the season opener, the preseason opener for the Chiefs, it will be on our sister station, the Big Country 94.5 FM, WIBW FM. We'll have the game so we can bring you Royals baseball, which starts at the same time on Saturday, right here on 580 WIBW. So Chiefs on the FM 94.5.
We gave our what to watch for earlier in the show, Dan, a couple of things each. Spencer, I'm curious for you, when you sit down to lock into the game coming up tomorrow against the Jags, what is the one thing or what are the couple of things that you're going to be especially focused on?
Well, I'm going back through the notes here, and Dan, your first one is right on what I think.
Well, it's the obvious one, right? Everybody's going to be watching
Yes.
Kingsley by any name.
But more specifically is it appears he's won the job on paper. And by all accounts, I want to see if that's legit. I also do want to see how the defensive backs are going to work. Who's going to be, what kind of the order is, but who's also going to play. Is Najee Johnson going to play? I don't know. He's been dealing with a knee and a hamstring injury.
And Jalen Watson is also kind of up in the air whether he'll play or not.
Yep.
Yeah, but I would agree with what you said about impact starter. What's Xavier Worthy going to show us in first game action?
Yeah, Matt said he thinks that Worthy is going to have a pretty decent sized role and is going to be asked to do more than just be the deep ball guy, which, hey, I'm cool with that. I do want to see it in action. The point Matt brought up, I want to follow up with you guys about this too. So I asked Matt, when you talk about getting these guys in motion, a lot of teams, this is especially a Shanahan tree thing, but you use a lot of the jet motion stuff or orbit motion stuff to get easy touches for guys. Miami does it with Tyreek Hill, with the idea being Tyreek Hill is our most dynamic player. He's our best playmaker. Get him the ball as much and as easily as possible and make it easy for him to go make big plays. At the expense sometimes of getting the easy stuff for, say, Jalen Waddle, that he's still a good player. He's still productive, but you're taking away some of those easy touches so you can maximize Tyreek Hill. Matt said he thought that might make sense for Xavier Worthy to use him in that kind of role because he is so fast, because he is so athletic, to try to get him the ball in that regard. I would say either probably Worthy or Brown would be the guy to use that for. I sort of want to see.
I don't know if Hollywood Brown's your gadget guy.
Is he going to play tonight?
Well, I don't necessarily think of him as a gadget. I'm not talking like literally hand him a jet sweep. I'm talking bring him across the formation. So when you snap the ball and he's out wide, he's 2 yards separated parallel from where his closest defender is. So you then turn, quick screen, Brown's got it. He's got built-in separation to create after that. Or you bring, jet around, wheel route off jet motion.
Okay.
You have built-in separation.
Well,
that's what I mean by
that's the
easy
kind of stuff I
touches.
think the Chiefs have a lot of guys who can do that.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's why I thought it was an interesting question.
I'm also interested to see, I don't know how much of the late game I'll watch later in the game.
All 4 quarters, Spencer, you got to be locked in, man.
I don't know how locked in I was going to be. Obviously, we talked about this with Matt Derrick. I want to see what late back end of the roster receiver makes a run tomorrow.
I got a feeling it's going to be a lot of Nico Remigio in the second half.
Yeah,
Like
I hope
thinking.
so.
He had 4 catches in the preseason opener last year. This is, again, it's very hard to find like preseason stats. You really have to do some digging to find like old preseason game numbers. But I was curious and went back and looked at the preseason opener from last year for the Chiefs. And Remigio had like 4 catches for 71 yards. Richie James also had a touchdown, had a really big game.
Yeah.
Fringe back of the roster guy. I think Remigio is probably the easy answer to that. But how much of it is him and how much do we see of guys like Moore and Hardman and Tony? Because there's different ways to interpret snap count in preseason game 1. Like if Kadarius Toney's not getting a lot of snaps, you can interpret that as not good. You could also interpret that as, well, they know what they've got in him. They don't need to run him out there with Ian Book throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
Is
Ian Book the 4th guy?
Ian Book is quarterback 4. Yes.
Who's the 3rd? How do you pronounce
Chris Oladokun.
Oladokun. Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of say it like a really intense Minnesota accent. Oladokun. Yeah, you can kind of say it like that. I am going to venture a guess and say if we see a lot of Kadarius Toney in the second half, that's a bad thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be
for him.
That's how I would interpret it too. I'm just saying that a lot of times your snap count in preseason game 1 can be open for interpretation.
Yeah.
Sometimes your coaches don't need to see a lot of you.
That's true.
But sometimes if they are seeing a lot of you and you are out there running routes for Ian Book, that might be, go home, be a family man.
That might be you doing work for Ian Book more than you doing work for yourself.
Yeah, that's a fact. We'll take a break here at 580 Sports Talk, come back and preview this weekend's Royals series against the Cardinals. The I-70 series gets back together at the K for 2 tonight and tomorrow. We'll break it down next here on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Round and third, heading for home on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. It's our last 4-hour edition of the show.
Yeah.
We move to 3 hours starting on Monday. 3 to 6, you can catch us. Same show, same topic, same guests, same hosts, same bits. Just a little trimmer.
Same offensive Italian accents.
A little more of Spencer per the time period.
I know. So I'm saying
More Spencer per hour, yeah.
This is why rate stats are important. I'm hopeful I have a voice on Monday. I am seeing Metallica on Sunday night.
That's sick.
And
Soldier Field or?
Yeah, Soldier Field.
Okay.
Real quick trip up to the city of Broad Shoulders. And I am hoping I have a voice remaining on Monday for the show. I will do my best.
That whips, man. That's awesome.
I'm
3 to
so
6 Monday and moving forward. Agri Talk will be the program that airs from 2 to 3. So if you turn on your radio and you don't hear us from 2 to 3, don't fret. We're going to be there at 3 o'clock and we'll be there until 6. And that'll be the way we do it moving forward here on 580 Sports Talk. Same will go for the video too. You'll click on the video and like, wait a minute, why hasn't it started yet? Because we don't start till 3. That's the get down moving forward. You will not on Sunday night while you are watching Metallica. You will not be missing any Royals baseball because they don't play on Sunday.
Thank God this is done after this year.
Yeah, really bad scheduling, really dumb scheduling. Royals and Cardinals have a 2-game series tonight, tomorrow night, no game on Sunday. Jeffrey in the YouTube live chat asks, how good are the Cardinals? Not is the correct answer to that question. Outscored by 46 runs so far this season. They are very fortunate to be above 500. They have precisely one hitter that is really threatening in their lineup, and that's Wilson Contreras. Mason Wynn's having a nice year. He's a 4-win guy because his glove is really good, and he's not a disaster at the plate as a rookie shortstop. He looks like he's going to be a good one for a while. But no, this is a very middling baseball team. They're better than they were last year, but that's not saying much because Cardinals were a tire fire last year.
Yeah.
All you have to do is worry about the occasional home run because they do have good power. Like if you look through their starting lineup, a lot of guys with 10+ home runs.
Yeah, like Alec Burleson, Nolan Gorman can run into one, but they're both left-handed, and like you can really neutralize Nolan Gorman if you throw a left-hander at him. Like that's not a guy that you have to really fear in the late innings if you can deploy a lefty against him. They got the corpse of Matthew Carpenter coming off the bench. Matthew, we're real familiar. Brandon Crawford is still on this team somehow. The bullpen is probably a strength of the team, but still not altogether imposing. They've really only got one guy out of the bullpen who misses bats, and that's their closer, Ryan Helsley. You know how to make him a non-factor?
Win.
Be leading. Yeah.
Don't go to the ninth. Don't go to the bottom of the ninth inning losing because Ryan Helsley, really good. Division II MIAA product, by the way.
That's right, Northeastern State.
Yep.
He's from Tahlequah, I think. He's a hometown guy.
Hometown guy. How about
Born
that?
there and went to college there. Yeah, MIAA guy, Ryan Helsley, and I think still leading the league in saves. Got 36 saves. He's legit good. But yeah, don't deal with him. Jump on the starters like Miles Michaelis and his 5.12 earned run average. Doesn't miss bats. Gives up over a homer per 9. That's who the Royals lineup will face tonight. That lineup, for the record, Michael Massey leading off at second base, then Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinnie Pasquantino at first, and Salvador Perez catching. Hunter Renfroe's in right, MJ Melendez in left. Paul DeYoung, the former Cardinal, DHing and batting 7th. Then Maikel Garcia at third and Kyle Isbell in center. This is probably as strong a lineup offensively, defensively as the Royals are capable of putting out there.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think this is their best possible lineup.
Best lineup of the season?
Yeah, there's just no way you can fit Freddie Fermin into the lineup. That would maybe be the only change, but you can't fit him in unless you move Massey out the lineup, Garcia second, DeYoung to third, and had him or Perez.
Yeah, that might be the best one from an offensive perspective, but even though Massey struggled defensively, I still kind of like him at second and Garcia at third better than I like Garcia at second, DeYoung at third. St. Louis goes with the aforementioned Mason Wynn at short leading off, followed by Alec Burleson DHing. Wilson Contreras, the one legit threat in their lineup, adding third, catching. Nolan Arenado, my guy. It's kind of going south for him this year. He's at third. Brendan Donovan in left. Paul Goldschmidt, washed. He's batting 6th at first base.
God, he was so good.
He was. Great player. Hall of Famer, Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
I don't think it's much debate. I think he's going to be the first one with an Arizona logo on his cap to go to the Hall of Fame. Nolan Gorman bats 7th at second. Tommy Pham in right field batting 8th. Victor Scott bats 9th in center field. Victor Scott is very fast. Unfortunately for Victor Scott, you can't steal first base. He's 8 for 73.
Throw strikes. Don't walk this guy. This guy I don't want to see come up go 0 for 2 with 2 walks and 4 stolen bases tonight.
Yeah, just throw him strikes.
Definitely a base stealing threat. Miles Michaelis and Michael Lorenzen is the pitching matchup tonight. The pitching matchup tomorrow. Michael Wacha, the former Cardinal, goes for the Royals against Andre Palante.
If I may diverge from baseball for a second, Ryan Helsley, I would argue, is the 4th most famous alumnus of Northeastern State University.
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood is number 1, easily. Yes. The queen. Yes, she's number 1. I would argue that number 2 is good old JR, Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went there. Additionally, number 3, Larry Coker.
Larry Coker?
Yeah.
The Miami head coach?
The coach. Did you know he went to Northeastern State?
I did not know that about Larry Coker.
Now you know that about Larry Coker. He played DB for the Riverhawks.
How about that?
Yeah.
You think Ryan Helsley's less famous than Larry Coker?
Yeah, I would say so. Baseball's a regional game.
It's true. But he plays for the Cardinals, who are a broadly popular team.
Yeah. I don't know how much swing Larry Coker has these days.
Yeah, I mean, he was the babysitter for that 2001 Miami National Championship team.
They were.
And maybe more famous among college football sickos anymore for having been the guy who got the UTSA program up and running.
Right. Yeah, okay. Maybe Helsley's 3rd. Tying for the bronze medal. Yeah. Larry Coker and Ryan Helsley.
That's fine. We can do it like Olympic boxing. We can have ties for the bronze.
Yeah,
we don't need to slug it out for the bronze. We can have ties for the bronze.
What are you most excited for final weekend of the Olympics?
Final weekend of the Olympics? The basketball gold medal games.
Yeah.
I think the men's game, U.S. and France, could be pretty good, especially with the officials trying to rig it for France desperately.
Yeah, United States versus Emmanuel Macron coming up this weekend.
We're going to play 5 on 8. We'll see how it goes. What about you, Spencer?
I would say men's basketball. I'm going to tune into that, actually.
Women's volleyball. I will be getting. I'm sleeping. I'm on the couch of my best friend's house on Saturday night, Sunday morning. I will be up at 6 a.m. to watch. Very tired, but I will be there no matter what.
Love it. We'll get the full volleyball recap on Monday's edition of 580 Sports Talk. One final break and then a final word for 580 Sports Talk after this from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Final word time on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. It's your final word for the week, so make it count, Spencer Dupuis.
So, in honor of this being the final 4-hour show, you guys jump back to 4 hours, what, a year ago?
It was a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
A year ago. I came on in January. Now I'm only going to get 2.5 of the 3 hours, most likely. But that's playing the percentages. I'm excited to play better percentages than I have in the last.
I thought we were going to get
weeks.
like Steiner math from
No,
Spencer there for a
excited
second.
for that. Excited to only see 2 Royals games. Not excited about that. I would love to see 3. Also, I need to make plans to get back to the K before the regular season ends.
Yeah.
That's my final word.
Final word for me, 3-pronger here. Number 1, it's shorter show starting on Monday, but not a bad thing. We're excited for it. We're excited for you guys to be along with it too. Nothing's changing. Show's still going to be great, and we can't wait to see you on Monday at 3 o'clock. Part number 2, Metallica Rules, and part number 3, gold medal match, U.S. versus Italy, women's volleyball, Sunday morning. I have a whole list of things to say about people from the nation of Italy should this game go poorly. I hope I never have to break it out. USA. Go get it done, ladies.
Turn me up. Give me hype for that volleyball.
Let's go.
Love it. Final word for me today. I got a 2-parter as well. Number 1, yeah, it's a preseason game, and it doesn't mean anything, but still, you got to be a little fired up, a lot fired up, frankly, to see the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions back on the gridiron, to see Patrick Mahomes and that familiar 15 take the field and lead the huddle, to see the Chiefs defense, one of the best in the league, fly around for a series, even if it is just a series. It's another milestone that brings us closer and closer to football season, and one that I'm extremely excited about because I think the Chiefs have as good a chance to make this history as any team before them who's tried it ever has. And I'm really excited to see that journey begin tomorrow night in Jacksonville. The other part of my final word, 4 hours has been fun, but 4 hours is a lot. 3 hours, this show is going to be leaner and meaner and more productive and a lot of fun. And we're excited to have you join us Monday at 3 o'clock for 3 to 6 moving forward here on the show. Got some overtime coming up next. Royals baseball, 6:30 pregame, 7:10 first pitch. We'll talk to you Monday at 3. Until then, for Trenton, Brennan, and Spencer, I'm Dan. This has been 580 Sports Talk.